What's going on, everybody? Anything happen this week? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's bad.
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Roger, roll, Atlantic. Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalization.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No.
Oh my god.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Welcome everybody to the Flame Trench. Ours is still intact here after a couple of weeks away. Obviously last week we had Starship kind of taking precedence with that. And yeah, the Flame Trench today is actually spicy given the fire that we saw in it last night. Needless to say, our entire plan for this Flame Trench has changed dramatically in the last 20 hours or so. So this is going to be a fun one. But I'm not alone to deal with this, thankfully, because, there's a lot to talk about here. I'm joined by my competent cohort of co-hosts. Let's see what order we're going to be starting in, starting with Max Evans. Max, how's it going?
Sawyer, it is going, and it is indeed flowing, although whether that is a positive or a negative is up to your own interpretation. But lots to talk about this week, primarily about one gigantic elephant in the room that's behind all of us. But we're going to get into that later.
Oh, we've got a lot to get into with that, folks, definitely. Also joining me today, as we swing boxes to the next person, is EJ. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's up? It's right behind me, isn't it?
Well, not anymore.
Oh, yeah, this, I'm doing good, but yeah, this week's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, just a bit. Well, in terms of who's next, there's only one other person on the trench, so I know for a fact that next is D Wise. D, how's it going?
You know, it's been a very interesting past 20 hours of New Glenn going for static fire and the events that took place since then. So there's certainly a lot to talk about, even though almost none of it is what we were originally planning on talking about. You know, it'll be a good day. Hopefully we can break that down. There is a launch potentially on the horizons this evening with an Atlas mission, and I'm out here at the press site. So, but there's a lot to talk about. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Hopefully we might have the chance to get a bonus Atlas V launch. I know D, you and Jerry will be out there setting up tracking for that. As of right now, it is about a 30-minute window for Atlas for their 7th flight, I believe, of Amazon satellites. Goodness gracious, my brain's still trying to go to New Glenn at the moment. So we'll see if that goes. The weather is 30% favorable, and there's a whole bunch of Phase 2 lightning warnings in effect. So yeah, we'll see how that happens. But right now, reminder, if you have questions, you could tag us at NASASpaceflight, or sorry, Phase 2 is clear, but you could tag us at NASASpaceflight or at NSF. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can. And yeah, sorry I'm a bit frazzled today, because it has been wild. I don't think any of us have gotten that much sleep recently. In case you were living under a rock, who wants to give us the rundown here of what you may have missed at approximately 9 p.m. Eastern last night at LC-36?
New Glenn went kablooey.
Very in-depth.
Gone.
Very in-depth. So
Reduced
essentially,
ashes.
the synopsis of what we witnessed last night was the full and total destruction of New Glenn on the launch pad, preparing for a hot fire test ahead of the New Glenn 4 or New Glenn Flight 4 mission, which was scheduled to take place early next week. It seems like right when the vehicle got to engine ignition, there were multiple malfunctions, most keenly of which we observed first flashes around the aft module of the vehicle, which is right in the neighborhood of the BE4s, followed by more flashes that seemed to propagate upwards, followed by what looked to be the second stage or GS2 beginning to fall to the ground, and then RUD itself, or have a rapid unscheduled disassembly, followed by the rest of the vehicle. And the subsequent explosion was seen from literally hundreds of miles away. It was complete and total destruction of New Glenn and its one and only launch pad. There was no payload on board. The payload that was scheduled for this was the Amazon, the first set of Amazon LEO satellites that Amazon would be launching on New Glenn, otherwise known as LN-01 or LEO New Glenn launch number 1. But obviously that is not taking place anytime soon, nor will there be a launch of New Glenn anytime soon, as far as we can tell, based on the damage that we saw last night between both lightning towers having this crazy wobble in the overpressure shockwave, and obviously one of them coming all the way down to the ground and the other being severely damaged. And we got a better look of said damage this morning when both Dee and Jerry hopped in a helicopter and got a better view of the pad in its current state. TLDR, it's not great. The pad is basically destroyed and will take a long time to repair. That's essentially probably not news to anybody who's been following the situation since it happened last night, which was around 9 p.m. Eastern, I think it was. So I want to bring everyone else back into the room here, because there is a lot to dive into here in terms of the short and long-term consequences, not just for New Glenn and its commercial future, but also for the Artemis program, with this unfortunate circumstance occurring just one day after NASA's announcement of New Glenn's involvement with future moon-based plans in a three-phase architecture with the Artemis program. Y'all, what break me or walk us through, or I want to get into all your minds about what this could potentially mean for New Glenn and the future Artemis plans, and for the bigger picture, our return to the moon, and what this could mean for what could be to come.
Guys, I spent over on my stream before this, I spent a pretty good amount of time sitting here staring at these wonderful pictures here. Hi, you're down there. He's down there. All right, you changed the camera, changed the scene on me right when I did that, so that now it's just weird. Lovely. Thanks, Jay. No, you know what? Blue, if you look at the very back of these pictures, okay, there's a pile driver back up there, and you can see some groundwork has started to be leveled, right? So, is this bad? Oh yeah, this is bad. But we know from filing paperwork, and you could see it right there, that they're going to build another New Glenn pad over there. It's going to be LC-36B, right? We've seen the paperwork for it. We know it's there. We know they're working on it. They started the groundwork for it, right? Dare I say it? Like, if they had to, I don't think they're going to be down for as long as everybody says. Like, I don't know if we should call it doom scrolling, just to, try to get as much information about what happened over the last 24 hours at Complex 36 as I can. But, I've seen folks say, like, oh, it's going to be 2 years. It's going to be 2 years. It's going to be 2 years, the Artemis program. And yeah, this is going to delay it at least the Artemis 3 program. But also at the same time, like, I don't think it's going to take as much time as people think it's going to. Building another pad takes time. I understand this. But if they're just going to go ahead and build another one right there, clean slate's going to be easier to restart from than having to pick up, the fun house that's at the, bottom of the screen here. Like, now that I'm really sitting here and thinking about it, Max, I really don't think this is going to take as long to come around as it might seem. I really okay. And my big driving thing, I know it's going to sound ridiculous. Like, yeah, EJ, sure. Well, my big driving thing is that New Glenn doesn't have a pad anymore. And Blue needs to launch Amazon LEO satellites. They have the Artemis program to work on, right? Guys, they don't have a choice. They have to rebuild that pad quickly. It's like what I said with Flight 12 and SpaceX. That has to work. You don't have a choice. Like, you have to get that thing to work. If it doesn't work, you got a big problem, right?
Yes.
Max, they have to get this pad working. I think they're going to do it sooner rather than later. Just my 2 cents. I don't know. D, what do you
EJ,
think?
Oh, go ahead, D.
Like, I'll just say, driving up to the Space Coast this morning, looking out at the coast, it's a different skyline now.
Yeah.
With one of those lightning towers down and the other, when we were taking a look in the imagery, like, you can see damage to the base of that lightning tower, and they're also, like, everything around there is like stained more black. It's like, it's a different color. It's a different look. We're used to the Space Coast being a changing skyline. We're not used to it for this reason so suddenly, without preparation. When 37 was demolished, like, there, that was sort of understood, like it was changing hands. This is just literally the sun sets one day on a complete and working launch pad that has seen successful launches, and the sun rose today, and there is not a functional launch pad there. The roof of the flame trench is collapsed down in there. The existing standing lightning tower seems to be damaged. Now, I'm no engineer to say what it would or would not take to perhaps repair it. Like, who knows? But until they get an insane level of detailed assessment on that lightning tower, like, there's damage to it. They can't have people re-enter the area. They need to figure out exactly what the risks are. There are so many different things, and that's not even considering the pressure wave. What could have happened to the nearby infrastructure? In the flyover, we see, and like, some of these images are out. I know we've got a bunch more out to members, but see debris spread around. The remains of the lightning tower, tents out at the pad are destroyed. Some of the tanks at the pad appear to be dented. Their mass sim seemed to have escaped any major appearing debris, but like, with that shockwave, there are tents significantly farther away from than the HIF that have sustained damage, and you have to wonder what that does to anything in the HIF right now.
Yeah,
I would really love the EJ for you to be right, and for I'm certain that they are going to move full steam ahead as soon as they figure out what happened, what they need to do to resolve it. Like, they're going to continue building. This isn't like it was their only planned launch pad. It's just that it was their only operational launch pad. They have the problem is that there are ways to go from having any of those other launch pads operational. How long did we see Starship stand down here going from V2 to V3? And they had the launch pad like well underway and constructed when the last version 2 launched. And we still saw a significant delay until we saw the first V3. And that's vehicle related as well, but clearly they have their own issues here to look at and explore, whether that is with ground service, whether that's with the vehicle. Like, who knows? Anything specific we'd say would be speculation. But I mean, I hope you're right. But taking a look at the amount of damage that has taken place, like it doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't. I think. Oh, sorry, D.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think I should also preface this next segment by saying all personnel have been accounted for, and there have been no reported injuries or fatalities as a result of this incident, which is the best news we could possibly have given these circumstances. But also, we're talking about damage here. Let's go over what hardware is we either know is damaged and or destroyed, or could be, and what else could be around. So obviously the launch mount, the flame trench, the water deluge system, one of the lightning towers completely destroyed. Like, they're in no if, ands, or they are completely and totally destroyed. In terms of where may be in the hangar, from previous imagery released from Dave Limp and Blue Origin themselves, there was the GS2 booster, Never Tell Me the Odds, which was the first to land successfully and refly successfully, was in the hangar at the time of the explosion, on top of what looked to be another GS2 stage. Whether that was a flight element or not remains to be seen. Whether or not it was even still in there at the time, this is just going off of recently released imagery from inside the hangar from Blue, but there could also have been other BE4s in there, and not to mention all of the hardware used to integrate the launch vehicle onto the actual transporter erector itself. That was all in there, and that pressure wave was incredibly intense, as we saw. And so who's to say hardware wasn't knocked around inside, stuff knocked off the ceiling, came down. Who knows if they even still have power to the hangar. I haven't actually checked to see if the lights were on last night afterwards. I think they weren't. But that's just at the pad itself. We can also work our way north to LC 14 and 16, where Nova and Terran R will hopefully be launching from in the next year or so. And those are directly next door to Launch Complex 36. So if there ever was going to be launch or other companies' infrastructure damaged by this, it's going to be 14 and 16, because they are quite literally right next door to Pad 36. But also, if we're going farther north, we have Launch Complex 37, which is where Starship should be launching from in the next maybe 2 to 3 years. Then we also have Pad 40, which we saw a launch from this morning, Pad 41, 39A, and 39B. And we also saw from our press site cameras how bright the VAB was lit up by that fireball following last night's unfortunate events. That's about. It's one of the worst case scenarios imaginable for a launch vehicle and its team. I think in my personal ranking, there are 3 ways to rate a worst case scenario. Number 1 is you lose your vehicle and your pad. Number 2 is you lose your vehicle and pad and your payload. Number 3 is LOCV, loss of crew and vehicle. Thankfully, New Glenn is not crew certified or crew rated as of this moment. And thankfully, the payload that was going to be launching on New Glenn was not mated on top of it during the static fire like we saw during NG3 and their launch of Bluebird 7 for AST Space Mobile. So no matter how you try and break this down, it's going to get dirty. It's ugly, no matter how you want to look at it. I mean, this is. I feel for everybody at Blue, especially those who have been putting their blood, sweat, and tears into making sure New Glenn gets to where it needs to go, and delivering on Blue's promises to make New Glenn a reliable and commercially viable vehicle against the likes of Falcon 9 and hopefully Starship in the next few years. It's a major setback, and especially with this being your only launch pad, your only operational launch pad. Of course, there were others planned, but what Complex 36, the one that's built now, is their only one was the only one able to support New Glenn launch operations.
Why are we talking about it like it's a funeral or something, guys? Like we're eulogizing Blue. This is ridiculous. Wait a minute. You one pad down. They're building this. They're going to build another one, and they're probably going to fix that one. But all the production facilities and all the know-how and all the staff are still there. It's not like, oh, they lost everything. We're talking like like this is like some end all be all thing. And yeah, this shifts the timeline a little bit, and that stinks. But like, why this ain't no funeral, man. Blue will be fine.
Well, EJ, I think it's different here because Blue Origin is not like SpaceX, and they don't have 4, 5, 6 other vehicles either ready to go or almost ready to go following the aftermath of a bad flight or an on-pad issue.
What?
Do we know that?
Do we know that? They haven't posted anything about that, but that's just assuming that's assuming based off of hardware that we have or haven't seen. So, I mean, as far as we know, the NG2 or the NG1 booster, or sorry, GS1 booster, never tell me the odds, was as far as we could tell, was in the hangar at the time of the event, at least based off of recent imagery released from either Dave Limp, Blue Origin CEO, or Blue Origin themselves. But obviously, again, vehicles don't really matter whether they have them almost ready or not if you don't have a pad ready to support them. Although I wanted to preface this next point by saying all of this because this could be an incredibly positive pivot point for Blue Origin to either build or rebuild this one pad first or rebuild this pad simultaneously with their brand new pad right next door. Or this might be kind of going down maybe a rabbit hole here. They could jump right to New Glenn 9x4. There is a window of opportunity here to do that. So
what? Why would we do that? Why? Huh? See, everybody's asking you. Everybody's asking me that. Like after what I said, like it's like, oh, they're gonna hop to 9x4. Why? No. Get 7x2 working. 9x4 was always intended to be an extension of the data learned from 7x2. I mean, yeah, I guess you could tech right to it, but okay, all right, fellas. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, there's no reason why they can't do 7x2s and 9x4s at the same time. Like, if it was me, I would just keep making New Glenn 7x2s. Don't just keep making it like your pad was intact. Build 2 pads right here. Build A and B for 7x2, and then find another avenue for 9x4 VAB, and then go from there. We're not talking like a 5-year delay here. You're not talking like, once again, it's not a 5-year delay. It's I'd say 12 to 16 months at best.
But why not? I mean, there's so many improvements that would come with 9x4. The fact that the goal for that, I believe, is to be vertically integrated, not horizontal. So you don't have a building laying flat with all of your hardware in it that if something happens at the pad, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you run the risk of either damaging or losing entirely what was in that hangar. Again, we believe that we had one of the GS1s in there. Don't know what the status was for GS2s and also the BE4s that were in there. We don't know what was going on with those because, of course, they were the ones on the other booster. We don't know if they swapped them around a little bit. So, I mean, what benefit do you have of keeping the 7x2 if 9x4 is still capable of doing what 7x2 was, but can be expanded upon? And it's not like the hardware that is still remaining at 36, like a lot of it is salvageable. There's, of course, going to be a lot of work that needs to be done to redo most of it.
Are we looking at the same pad, dude?
You're missing an entire lightning tower. The flame trench collapsed inward.
Yeah, I know. And you just said that parts are fixable. Are we looking at the same pad? Did I hear that right? Am I going?
No, the whole point was that there are parts that are not fixable.
Oh, okay.
That was what I meant. Is there parts that you're going to have to replace entirely that aren't fixable? So what would be the point then of trying to get that back up and running when you can just start it from scratch?
Okay, so Sawyer, I'm gonna, you served me the ball. I'm gonna hit it right back to you. Okay, so you're going to scale right to a partially reusable super heavy launch vehicle, because scaling to a partially reusable heavy launch vehicle worked really well for them before, right? No, dude. I always thought, like, at least, I don't know, maybe I'm just in my own world, right? But I always thought, and that it is a possibility, right? Don't let me know. I don't want to know, all right? I'll just be in my own world, okay? I always thought that 9x4 was going to be built based off of what was learned from flying 7x2 a lot. Just right? You're not, like to use a SpaceX analogy, like you're not going to go right to Falcon Heavy. You're going to get a lot of data with Falcon 9s and then go to Falcon Heavy. Like that's how I thought about it in my mind. And like once again, guys, Blue is like 15,000 strong. It's like a 15,000 employee force. They're just as big as SpaceX. Like, I mean, I think SpaceX, like, with the IPO might probably is going to get bigger, but that's another story. I'm going to get in the weeds there. Blue is a big freaking aerospace company. They're huge. There's no reason why they couldn't rebuild 2 7x2 pads at 36. And then, I don't know, my EJ's hopium theory is that it's, they build out 9x4 for a high bay and a mobile launcher in the VAB.
That would be sick.
Use 36 or 39 Bravo, right, Max? Yeah. Like, there's no.
I like that.
There's no reason why they can't do all of those things, like all of them. It's a huge company, and what? Do they not have the money to do that?
And then the other question that I have, by the way, is with all of the contracts that they were given for the lunar lander, did it specifically say what vehicle it had to launch on? Does it say that Blue Moon Mark II lander, the one that will carry people, is launching on New Glenn? And if so, does it specify that it is the current version of New Glenn, aka 7x2, or can they still launch it on a 9x4 and not have any issues with that?
Yeah, I think, and that's one of the other points that really should be driven home here, to shed some positivity or to shed some positive light on this incredibly negative situation. This is an opportunity. Like this could mean further LSP or launch service provider collaboration in the future. Maybe Blue Origin and SpaceX work together to get Mark 1 to where it needs to go. Who knows? Like there is an opportunity here to do multiple things. Either be rebuild your pad for 7x2, rebuild it for 7x2 and or 9x4, come up work with SpaceX on a fast way to get Mark 1 launched this year. There's a whole bunch of different avenues here to be exploring to get the job done for Artemis. And that is the main objective here in terms of what's the biggest crunch here. It's not money, it's not budget in terms of Blue's pockets, because obviously they're backed by Jeff Bezos in private funding. But getting back to the moon and supporting the US government's goal of beating China to the moon this decade, in the next hopefully 2 years, if not closer to 3 to 4 by the decade's end. That's the biggest, I think that is currently the biggest driving factor right now in any real decision regarding Artemis and immediately related Artemis hardware, and New Glenn was directly part of this equation. So there's a massive window of opportunity here in terms of what could come in the future for collaboration and finding solutions to now obvious problems that are staring us right in the face, which in my opinion is pretty exciting. Seeing SpaceX and Blue work together to accomplish a common goal, like getting us back to the moon all that much faster, to me is an incredibly appealing outcome or reality that I would love to see through. But again, only time will tell. And obviously, I think step one is nailing down the root cause of what caused this whole kerfuffle in the first place. And it seems like the BE-4 just based on our imagery, it seems like the initial flashes on New Glenn came from the aft skirt section, aft module section of New Glenn, which is where the BE-4s are housed. Seven of them on the 7x2 variant, hence 7x2. But I kind of want to toss this one to everyone in the room here. It's like, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't have Blue Origin and New Glenn in particular on my list of companies to come across issues this large in scale. Like having a full vehicle blow up on the pad was not something I had foreseen in Blue Origin's future. That is a given reality of the aerospace industry, and especially spaceflight, of major events happening like this with your hardware, like worst case scenarios. But I didn't have Blue Origin on my radar for this to happen to. But this is a key example of even those who seem the most well prepared and taking things at a much different pace or approach compared to others, they're not immune to setbacks and problems.
Before we get to that, I want to clarify something because I see people asking, When we talk about 7x2 and 9x4, the 7x2 is the new Glenn that we've seen fly on all of the recent flights. So that is 7 engines on the first stage, the BE4s, and then 2 upper stage engines of the BE3Us. The plan was for Blue Origin to then come up with a larger vehicle that was more stretched, that was more powerful, more capable, and did a vertical integration rather than horizontal, and that is 9x4. So, in other words, 9 engines of the BE4s, similar to a Falcon 9, and then 4 of those BE3U upper stage engines, just for people that were confused on that. Now, we'll pass it to everyone on what they think about that.
All right, Max, what question are you throwing out to the room, dude? Sorry about that.
Was this really on everyone's radar? Like, did we really expect Blue to have an issue of this magnitude? Like, for me, I never thought this would happen to them, given their approach to R&D and also just flight.
You know, like, I'm not trying to, be that guy, but I mean, all I can think about, Max, is that new Shepard flight where they changed some parameters on the BE3 and then they lost the tail and had to have a whole mishap investigation, right? Because they changed something and flew it and, with customer payloads on board, and then it popped, right? Like, I don't know if you guys remember that, right? And then, like you look at AST's flight on, New Glenn 3, like, I don't know if you guys remember the countdown loops going into that flight. The countdown loops were kind of a mess. And it was like hold, scrub, right? And then they talked about like triage and, fault investigations on the main countdown loop. And then they sent it. And then, something went, they had off nominal thrust from the second stage engine, whatever that means. I'm not trying to say that I would have predicted this, Max. Like, not to be like, well, yeah, it's going to blow up. No, I didn't. I don't think anybody did, and I think that's fair. But the thing is that the signs are there. Like, it's very clear that they're threading the needle here, and I think that comes from schedule pressure. To be honest with you, I think they have to get those LEO satellites up there. They have to get Blue Moon Mark 1 working. They have to get Blue Moon Mark 2 working. So I can't help but think, like, the signs were there, and maybe just on a side note, Blue is feeling a little bit of schedule pressure. I don't know. D, do you think this could have been predicted?
I definitely wouldn't have. Like, if you had asked me if something like this would happen, I would not have expected it. But perhaps, like, with the combination of the second stage issue and the jump into landing boosters so quick, I think Blue's confidence in recovering and reflying boosters from the get-go, probably the first time around, second time around, seemed like it was overconfidence, and maybe with that second, it was almost, maybe it lulled all of us into a bit of a false sense of security and forgetting that this is a very early vehicle from a company that hasn't built an orbital class rocket before. Of course, they have Shepard, but they hadn't built something of this scale dealing with these sorts of forces before. And I think we always have to be ready for events like this. We've seen it with Starship. We've now seen it with New Glenn. Vulcan, thankfully, like, those issues have been contained, but it's had multiple issues now. It's had multiple mishaps. And so I think we need to be prepared for anomalies with any new rocket. Whether it's the pace at which they're going, which is to blame, is hard to say. I don't think, however, to tie back a little bit to the 9x4, 7x2 discussion, like, I really feel like it makes sense if they are already preparing for future 9x4 hardware to continue moving ahead with that rather than saying, actually, let's go back, start from square one, build more 7x2 infrastructure on the ground, why wouldn't they just continue with the 9x4 if they can get that ready first? Like, we see that their manufacturing is in place for the 7x2s, yes. Like, but that doesn't matter if they don't have a pad. So if they have preparations, and I don't know what their exact level of preparations, I'm sure if Alex was on stream, he would be like nailing down all the details. But if they have preparations in place for 9x4, why not continue forward with that and take this as a leap forward? Like, if they are stuck not flying and they were going to be using the 7x2s to learn for 9x4, why not use this as a leap ahead and get the head start on the 9x4? Because any minor change to a rocket, whether it's increasing the scale, adding more engines, that adds complexity, that adds new things they're going to have to learn. We saw it with V2 of Starship. Like, the V2 curse, it kept failing. And so who's to say when New Glenn goes 7x2 to 9x4, they won't have their own setbacks that they need to deal with then. And so if their goal is to get to 9x4 and they already have certain aspects of the ground side and the manufacturing in place, it might not be setting them back to just make that leap now, accept whatever additional risk there may be, and just go for it. They have such excellent engineers. How impressed were all of us that they nailed landing on Jacqueline with the booster? Like, that was a wild trajectory. I don't think any of us fully expected it to be so far off the side and then reorient.
Where's Jacqueline?
There it is. Like, it was, I don't know. I feel like I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but it all depends on what Blue already has in place and what their fastest path forward will be. Just because they were originally going to use 7x2 to learn doesn't mean they have to use 7x2 to learn. If they can use the time where they can't launch 7x2 anyway to just get a jump start on the next iteration.
And this wouldn't be the first time that we saw a company do that. I mean, granted, SpaceX went right from Falcon 1 to Falcon 9 after only 5 flights of Falcon 1, and only 2 of those being successful. We saw also with SpaceX at Massey's, they took the opportunity after Ship 36 blew up to completely rebuild Massey's and prepare it for version 3. And not to mention, we saw Relativity go right from Terran 1 to Terran R after 1 flight.
And then go bankrupt in the process.
I was about to say the circumstances aren't exactly comparable here, but this wouldn't be the first time this has happened. And given the path forward that they see the most benefit from, or whoever nudges them towards a decision, I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't.
I just don't know why you would. Okay, so you just lost a pad, right? You lost the pad. Mm-hmm. You lost the only pad, which really stinks, right? Why would we sit here and say, okay, I got an idea. Let's just take our entire factory that we just tooled up for 7x2. Why don't we just take that and just not use it? Let's just wipe the slate clean, right? Why would you do that? Guys, Blue has a cadence that they have to meet for LEO satellites and for the Artemis program. They're on the hook for a bunch of launches. Why? Yeah. So, tooling to 9x4, yeah, maybe, but now you have to retool your entire factory. The factory's tooled up right now for 7x2s. Build more 7x2s. And then when your pads are ready to go, and yes, I said pads because they're going to build 2, right? Going to build both of them. Build 2 pads out. Let's go. Build 2 pads out. So A, you avoid this problem again, and B, when your pads are ready to go, you have a plethora of 7x2s to launch.
Can you also build a pad that is versatile enough now that you're redesigning things to just have both? That way you don't have a separate 7x2 and 9x4. You just build a new pad infrastructure. You build 2 pads that are both capable of 7x2 and 9x4, so that whichever you choose to go with, you still have the option. Or is that too wild of an idea, especially as they're struggling to figure out just what happened last night to the 7x2?
Well, Sawyer, this is what I'm wondering about. You were saying like, oh, build a pad out for 9x4. I okay, call me a nut bar, which people do anyway. So I'm just
Nut
gonna,
bar.
I'm gonna own
Nut
it,
bar.
right? See, I told you. D, come on,
Nut bar.
join. Thank you. You completed the set. All right. I'm not sure that you can horizontally integrate a rocket like that. I mean, you could, like, don't get me wrong, like, it's totally possible. That would be the biggest horizontally integrated rocket by a long shot. You guys got to remember, New Glenn 9x4 is bigger than SLS. It's taller than SLS. Oh yeah, there goes chat. Nut bar. Yeah, I'm actually just gonna allow all the people that are saying that in there. Yeah.
Sometimes you feel like a nut.
I'm just gonna make sure everybody can just say nut bar in the chat. All right. I don't think that 9x4 is a rocket that you're going to want to put together horizontally. I mean, I don't know. I might be wrong, but that just, it seems, I mean, so you said it. It seems like it'd be better to put that thing together vertically, right? Like, it seems like once you get past a certain point with like rocket size, like you probably don't want to, horizontally integrate them, like Starship, SLS, Saturn V, Space Shuttle to an extent, but that's because it's heavy. It seems like they would want to do vertical integration, and if they're going to do vertical integration, they're going to have to build out a VAB. How else are you going to put it? How else are you going to put the thing on the pad unless they want to use chopsticks or something like SpaceX? Like, I don't see why you would do that with 9x4. That's a little weird. But maybe, who knows, right? So I just, yeah, you'd have to have like a VAB or something out there. Where they going to build something like that? Or
aren't they already working on clearing area for that?
I think it's
my understanding is that 9x4 was always supposed to be vertically integrated,
yeah,
and that they were working on their own version of a VAB. But at the same time, why not do the same with 7x2? Have a system that is capable of doing both. You just get an extra large transporter an extra large transporter that can handle both. I mean, we've seen that with Atlas and Vulcan. We've seen that with, the different variants of Atlas, the 4 meter, the 5 meter, the ones without solids, all of that.
Wait a minute. You're talking about like a mobile launcher and not a transporter erector, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you want to clean sheet the pad and switch Complex 36 to a mobile launcher style pad, like Complex 39, like, I mean, sorry, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of here for that. That would be actually kind of sick. And if you did tool up 7x2 to be vertically integrated, and then you switch to 9x4 from there, I mean, you'd have to build a VAB out there somewhere. But
if only they had some downtime to be able to do that right now. Wait.
I was gonna say,
what a convenient time for them to really build out the infrastructure and readiness.
Yeah,
like I was saying, it's an opportunity.
That would probably be the time, right? And actually, like, guys, if you say it that way, I mean, that still is tooling up 7x2 and 9x4 for the same launch complex. Like that, it goes back to what I was saying. Like, you're still going to do both of those things, right? Like,
if both of them can for sure launch like with the same pad infrastructure, like, which I assume that's what they want. Then yes, but then it comes down to like 9x4 can support any payload that 7x2 can. So when they're in the downtime, does it make sense to reprioritize the manufacturing side of things, which is long distance from the launch pad? Does it make sense to reprioritize parts of the manufacturing side to the 9x4 over the 7x2? Because they can use an overpowered rocket to launch a small payload, and it's not an issue. They can't launch a larger payload on the smaller rocket.
It's true.
Like when they're aiming for this reusability, and their recovery of boosters has not been flawless so far, but it has been really impressive for how early they are. So I feel like even if Blue can get a handful of first stages built, if they can get a couple 9x4 GS1s, like, then they can launch a ton of payloads rather than trying to build, like, even if you have double as many 7x2s, there are going to be missions that those cannot support that the 9x4 could. Whether the 9x4 works in like co-manifested payloads to make certain missions more efficient. I obviously, vertical integration is better for national security purposes. Like, certain satellites have to be vertically integrated, and SpaceX has sort of really helped like some of that to move away. But sometimes like satellites are not built to be built one orientation, then like rotated on the pad. Like, so depending on the exact needs, like, I don't know. I think it makes sense to at least explore making that jump now. I don't have any internal information or numbers or knowledge of what prep work has really happened to building 9x4s over the 7x2s. But from an outside perspective, they're not launching for a while. They don't have a pad. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
Sawyer?
yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. You kind of need the pad and everything to go with it. But, I mean, I like the thought process. I really do. And, I mean, they're working on that giga-based structure. That's the cool thing is, take a look at this. We can actually see where they're doing it right now. So this is near the skid strip that they have over at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. So somewhat close-ish to 36. But this is where they are actually doing the work now to start clearing the land and get it ready for the VAB or the BAB, Blue Assembly Building, but the vertical integration portion at least. Because I know I've talked to people who had payloads on a mission, and they specifically said, we have to redesign how our payload was made and how we tested it for a launch that is started off horizontal and raised vertical. It was ahead of a SpaceX mission. I'm trying to remember who the company was, but they said we had to change how we test the satellite and how we design the satellite because it had to be integrated horizontally versus if we were to do it vertically like ULA does, or, you know, like they might start doing here with 9x4. And already the foundations have started. And yes, I'm now calling it the BAB. You're welcome.
The BAB.
Thank you. I was going to say, if the VAB is the VAB, the BAB has to be the BAB.
Yep.
Jay Keegan came in with a great recommendation in the back channel. Blue Assembly Building Exterior, the BABE.
Ooh.
That's a stretch.
Well, I mean, I kind of like that babe, but I got a bunch of babes here that help support us here at MSF that I want to thank, and then we'll get back to our discussion.
Oh, jeez.
Because there's a lot more still to discuss. I promise. I see all of your questions and everything too. We're going to continue talking about it, but I have to thank some people here. Shazbird Toddbot saying, is today's trench brought to you by the words, oh my God? Must be.
Must be.
Maths, Mike Alpha Tanka Sierra gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Thank you for that. Good to see you, Maths. Jim Yoder, the next New Glenn first stage should be named Every Mushroom Cloud Has a Silver Lining. You guys are, wow, you guys are worse than me with puns on these names.
It certainly has a lining.
Mason Mars, I see Dev standing on top of the tower holding an antenna. Mr. Blonde, vehicle rich combustion, question mark. Deep Sky, thank you for the support. Warp Space 94, the base of the second tower is in really bad shape, but when you add in the amount of heat damage to the steel, it's going to have to get torn down. I think that's a safe bet. Jim Yoder also saying rebuilt pad will be designed to support 9x4-2, as we've been discussing the option of it. Also, Jim Yoder saying, I'd buy into a Blue Origin IPO. Please, Jeff.
Mr. EF.
Yeah. Jim Yoder also, poll idea, who flies next? New Glenn, Neutron, Antares 300, Artemis 3. I mean, we know which one is not going to win that poll.
Neutron, 100%.
What are the choices?
Neutron. Of which one goes first?
Ooh.
New Glenn, Neutron, Antares, or Artemis 3. We know Artemis 3 is mid to late next year. We know New Glenn is not anytime soon. So it really comes down to Antares and Neutron, which are both expected to be some point this year.
That's a great question.
I got it.
Go ahead,
You want to go?
EJ. You go first.
Okay. All right. How about this? You know, you said Neutron and Antares. I'll still say SLS. How about
really?
Yes.
How about because of this, right? Sherrod has to retool the Artemis program. You need some way to get those landers out there. Bring back the EUS, bring back ML2, put the work orders back in line.
Oh my God.
Up the cadence.
But they've been tearing it down already.
They didn't tear it down. They just took parts off. You put them back on. It takes 2 seconds.
Yeah, 2 seconds in Bechtel time, but still.
Can I?
The Bechtel time has already passed. We've already sank in our Bechtel time. We've already paid for that. And when I say we've already paid for that time, we've already paid for that. It's not going to take much to push that thing over the finish line at this point, especially when there's no alternatives. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, the crew access arm, the white room, is literally just sitting by the side of the road near the crawlerway.
Yep.
All right, what were you going to say, D?
I can't see it being Neutron, for sure. Like, I want it to be. I want Neutron succeed, but like we've recently seen like cracks in the structure, and it's like, all right, they've got a long way to go. We haven't seen all too much from the new Antares, and then like New Glenn is obviously a ways out here. Like they do not have a launch pad. They've got some rebuilding to do. They've got some stuff to figure out. And then I mean the holdup with Artemis 3 is going to be the landers. So it's not even SLS's fault. So I don't know what I'm voting for.
You got to pick one.
I've got to pick one.
Mandatory.
Antares?
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. I want all of these to succeed and be flying shortly. I hope like we get multiple debuts of new vehicles this year. But I'm not holding my breath.
I mean, I think, yeah. The question is, are we going to see any of those for this year? The answer might be no, which is horrifying, but yeah. Let me see. Observer saying, why didn't Blue Origin build a separate test facility like that of SpaceX's Massey's or NASA's Stennis? I mean, they technically do. They have, at least for second stages, the 2CAT, the second stage cleaning and testing facility over at Exploration Park. And we saw how well that went. One of the tests they did there blew off the doors, and then the second test they did where the doors were already open blew a hole in the roof. So I don't know if that's much better.
They do already test the BE-4s offsite in West Texas as well. But like, yeah, it's really kind of crappy to say that like Blue kind of threw all their eggs, well, most of their eggs in one basket at being Launch Complex 36, because that's where they hot fired GS2s. That's obviously where they hot fire GS1s and or fully stacked vehicles. And obviously that's where they launch from. Not anymore. It's going to be really interesting to see how they evolve from this, because there's a number of directions, as we've like spent the last X number of minutes talking about, that they could take. Although like which one that's actually going to be, I don't know. We're not even 24 hours out, or we haven't even passed 24 hours since this even happened. I think a lot of us are still kind of processing what happened and the magnitude of a problem this really could be. But again, it's an opportunity to do something great, something grand, something different. Don't know.
It's also worth considering, like even for SpaceX, for the booster static fires of Starship, those take place at the launch pad. We have more of them, but it's not like they're doing full 33 engine static fires at Massey's. There are like commodities considerations, and they would basically have to build out an equivalent flame trench for a launch pad, but for a static fire to do a full duration. So, yeah, it'd be great if they had a second location that this test took place at, but even SpaceX doesn't fully have that for like they don't do full static fires with an integrated vehicle on the pad.
I mean, they used to. Like, it used to be way more commonplace to see a Falcon 9 doing a static fire test either at Pad 40 or Pad 39 before a crewed mission. We also used to see Falcon Heavy doing a full static fire test at 39A before every single launch, up until maybe two or three launches ago. And mind you, as well, as far as memory serves, they have never done it with a meaningful payload on top of it in case something like what happened last night happened to their rocket. That used to be part of their mission criteria and the checklist to do to prove vehicle readiness. Obviously, Falcon 9 is a more than proven launch vehicle at this point. I don't actually remember the last time we saw a Falcon 9 or Heavy static fire. I'm trying to think of it now. It may have been closer to a crewed mission, but somebody in either chat or back channel correct me. I don't know.
I mean, we had
Crew 12.
Did we? We did. Okay.
Per Alex, it was Crew 12.
I'm an idiot. Certified.
That launched in February, for reference.
Yes. But like that's so assuming they even certify or they static fire for every crew launch, that's minimum twice a year, and maximum 3 or 4 times a year. So we don't see it all that often, but we do see it over at McGregor, where every single first stage is fired before being shipped out to either Vandenberg or the Cape. But again, that's its own bespoke test stand. It never meant to have a vehicle fly from there beyond Grasshopper. But yeah, Blue is they don't have a lot of real estate when it comes to full vehicle testing. Like they have their own test sites for BE4, again, in West Texas, and also at the Marshall Space Flight Center, where they also fire BE4s there as well. But that's, again, only for BE4s. That's not for GS2s. That's not for GS1s. It's not for integrated vehicle testing. It's just for the BE4s. And I mean, if BE4 really was the culprit this time, I'd be quite surprised, to be honest with you. Because again, kind of like Blue having this problem in the first place, I really didn't see that coming.
We don't know yet. There's a lot of question marks still. I want to continue with the questions here, because this is a really good one that got brought up from Head Swerve, saying, as the BE4 seems to be involved in this RUD, again, we don't know its role in it, but obviously something went kaboom near the engine base there. Does this ground Vulcan? Will they have to transfer more Amazon Leo contracts to Ariane 6? Because a reminder, Vulcan also uses a variant of the BE4. They're not exactly the same as the ones on New Glenn, but they're very, very similar. And that rocket already had issues with the GEM 63XL solid rocket motors, with nozzles liberating themselves. And so then, remember, Space Force was like, hey, we're still iffy a bit on the SRB side. We're going to try and launch as many as we can on the Vulcans without solid rocket boosters, because we trust the BE4s. Yeah, about that.
So is Vulcan double grounded, or will it be double grounded from the BE4? Not the best terminal. I don't know. You know,
you're
what I
double
mean?
grounded.
I double dog ground you, but yeah, I mean that's a good point.
I mean, certainly they were already going to be taking their time figuring out. I mean, we said this last time that they would figure out the issue with the SRBs before they flew again, and then we saw the issue again. Certainly, Blue is going to be taking their time with the BE4s, and of course, which probably most of it, the commonality between the Vulcan BE4s and how they're installed and run on New Glenn, like that'll have to be explored and narrowed down to an actual root cause, whatever that root cause may be. And again, it might not be the engines, and if that's the case, I don't think Vulcan has anything to worry about, but they need to get down to the root cause, because there's no way ULA wants to be flying on Vulcan right now when there's so many uncertainties. whether it be with the engines or the boosters. Like, and notably, those are not components directly made by ULA. Like, those are made by Northrop, and those are made by Blue Origin.
Yep.
They want to make sure that if they know their stuff is good, and like ULA has an incredible, it feels weird saying this when it has had some issues, but ULA has had an incredible track record of reliability, and they want to keep that up, and they don't want someone else's mistake to hurt their reliability just because they were rushing to fly again. They didn't wait for adequate information from those third parties that are suppliers for Vulcan as a whole. I don't know if I was clear or not, but I definitely think ULA will be keeping a close eye on this situation.
I think it's unfortunate as well because they have begun stacking the next Vulcan vehicle in their newly completed VIF-A, or Vertical Integration Facility A, for Amazon, right next to Space Launch Complex 41. And if the vehicle can't fly, because if it is deemed the BE-4 is having an issue, buddy, Vulcan is in for a ride. I mean, it's already been quite in for a ride anyway. But that's a vehicle sitting in a place that it's not meant to sit for a long period of time, with an uncertain future beyond the next few months, depending on how long the investigation takes. Like, again, we're less than 24 hours past since this event happened with New Glenn. But it's really unfortunate that a lot of the technology, or some of the technology on board, is directly integrated with other vehicles and other companies, and now there's a whole big question mark on whether or not that vehicle can fly again, when it's already dealing with its own set of problems from another supplier. So yeah, not really a great circumstance, no matter how you try and cut it.
Yeah, it really isn't. Let me continue with the support here, because then I have some other things I want to talk about too. Warp Space best case, we are looking at least a 12-month delay, so a complete teardown of Pad 1 and moving to 9x4 makes the most sense given the situation, in their opinion. Rocket Prophet, this event only proves that Orbit and Beyond is very difficult. That is true. Hey, it's the Space Pope saying, bless this holy nut bar. Good to see you, Space Pope.
Well done. Well done, you.
Rocket Prophet, thank you for the support. Jim Yoder, maybe NASA has a mobile launcher for sale cheap, question mark. Jim Yoder also making the joke here, without the lightning towers, New Glenn isn't grounded. Which I do want to point out. While we're cracking weather jokes here, you want to hear another weather joke? The weather is currently green for Atlas right now.
You're kidding, right?
I am not kidding. Per the official ULA live launch blog, the last we saw is that weather is go across the board as they continue filling up all of the propellant tanks on Atlas V towards their flight levels. They just began the Centaur liquid hydrogen load a couple of moments ago.
Okay.
That's exciting. It was thunderstorms when I walked into the building here.
Is it still thunderstorming?
Not to the best of my knowledge, but I do have headphones on and only a view out one window, and it was like blue skies on one side and downpour and thunder and lightning on the other side previously. So that is awesome. Getting closer and closer to another launch. Yes, it's quite common, especially in the summer, especially in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yep, and again, launch is currently scheduled for 7:33, I believe, p.m. Eastern Time, with a 30-minute launch window for another batch of Amazon LEO Internet satellites. Again, the payload New Glenn was supposed to carry was 48 of them. This is obviously a lot less, and is set to be the penultimate Atlas V 551. All other Atlases beyond that were originally set aside for Starliner, which is in the N22 configuration, so no payload fairing 2 solids and 2 upper stage Centaur engines. So exciting. Stick around. We'll continue to get to that. Here's something that, again, we were talking about there with ULA. It'll be interesting to see if they have to do anything with the rocket, with those engines, and when we see Blue come back in, or the BE-4s come back. So we'll have to see when they fly again. I also says, boy, I cannot speak. It was a long night, folks. I did see someone asking earlier, how does this compare to, shall we say, other past famous incidents where they did a static fire? However, the payload was on board for that one, and SpaceX learned to never do that again. Yeah. For those who don't remember, Amos 6 happened back in 2016. They were getting ready to do a static fire attempt, and it did almost an identical thing, although that was a Falcon 9, not a vehicle the size of New Glenn.
Yeah, they're not, from what we can tell, at least visually. Also, from now knowing what was the root cause X being LOX penetration to DCOP, or even that causing it to suddenly spark and cause a whole bunch of issues with its second stage. Yeah, they're not exactly relatable, despite a lot of the similar, like, visual similarities. Obviously, Falcon 9 uses RP1 and LOX. Obviously, New Glenn uses a combination of methane and LOX on the first stage and hydrogen and LOX on the second stage. And obviously, New Glenn is much bigger. And the issue caused, or the issue on Amos 6 was a stage 2 derived problem. And from what we can see from our footage, the issue seemed to begin on the aft module area of New Glenn's first stage. So while they seem to have some similarities in terms of, like, just their visual appearance, despite New Glenn's obvious, much grander exploding nature, just given the nature of its propellants on board, not exactly comparable given the issues at hand from the information that we know, but rather unfortunate nonetheless, because both launch pads still needed to be rebuilt and need to be rebuilt respectively in both circumstances. So either way, neither situation's good. I'll point it to you like that.
By the way, that was a photo that I took back in 2016, actually ahead of an Atlas launch, oddly enough.
Really?
And yeah.
Oh, ironic.
I know. Yeah, an Anomaly happened and then Atlas launched. This feels familiar. This was what Slick 40 looked like ahead of the OSIRIS-REx mission. Yeah, compare the damage to that versus the damage to what we see over at 36, and you can see the difference in magnitude. This one, the 4 lightning towers, one of them got a little charred, and the transporter erector, the old version, got mangled, and that still took about 400 days from when they flew, or for when Amos 6 happened to when they flew again from Slick 40. Keeping in mind, they were also still launching Falcon 9s from 39A at that point, because they did have another pad. I wonder, again, given the fact it was 2016, this is what Amos 6 looked like, and it took them 400 days. Yeah. Are we talking that same kind of time frame, do you think, given the damage that we see now? This is a live look, by the way, at LC-36.
Nah, I don't think so, Sawyer. I think the reason why Slick 40 took a long time to come back online is because SpaceX prioritized 39A to get to finish their launch cadence through, from 2016 into 2017. 39A was only down for a little, not down, like the time between Slick 40 going out and 39A getting operational was, if I'm remembering correctly, almost 6 was September of 2016, and then Koreasat 5A, which was the first launch off of 39A for the Falcon program, was sometime, I think it was March or April of 2017, something like that. SpaceX didn't prioritize it because they were, the priority one was getting the rockets up in the air, right? They took their time rebuilding 40. That feeds into what I was trying to say a little bit earlier. Blue doesn't have that luxury here. And that's why I kind of think that this is worse than Amos 6. Amos 6, you did lose the payload, right? But you had another pad. SpaceX eventually launched a newer version of that as a kind of a way to make it right, so to speak. I mean, but yeah, Blue needs to. Yeah, I don't think it's going to take as long with Complex 36. I think they'll build 2 pads if you like I was saying before.
I guess I struggle to hold the same optimism for a timeline there simply because of the scale of what needs to be rebuilt compared to Pad 40. Would love to see Blue repair what needs to be repaired at the pad within 10, 12, 15, 16 months. That would be amazing to see and would be an incredible demonstration of their workforce. But there's a lot more that needs to be rebuilt here compared to what happened at Pad 40. It's an entire rebuild between a lot of the tank farm, if not the entire tank. Well, I shouldn't say the entire tank farm. A solid portion of the tank farm, the entire launch mount, the flame trench, and they have to rebuild an entire new lightning tower, which sounds minor, but with towers as large as those, it's not as simple as you think. And they may have to tear down and rebuild the other one there that's currently standing behind the hangar. Not to mention the actual damage that may or may not have been sustained by said hangar with maybe some hardware inside of it. There's just a lot more that could have been affected here. I don't know. I struggle to maintain or believe or just get on board with a timeline that optimistic. As amazing as that would be to see, and I would love to be proven wrong. I really would, and I want to say that for the record. I would love to be proven wrong there. Would love for EJ to be correct here, but there's just a lot more that needs to be redone here.
Max, they don't have a choice, dude.
I agree. They don't, but that we have yet to see an actual demonstration of Blue's workforce do something like this. So until it happens, I would love to see it happen. Would love nothing more. And our country honestly needs it, and our spaceflight program needs it. So I would love to see it happen. We need it to happen, but will it happen? That's the big question here. Don't know. Just a whole bunch of question marks.
You're not kidding. And that'll lead us into our next topic here in a moment. Let me finish thanking the people, and then we'll continue on to the other impacts that this will have with a certain national space agency that also deals with aeronautics. So we'll see what that's going to talk about for NASA's role in a moment. I'd rather be flying an X-Wing with a tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com saying Blue Origin is suffering from a shortfall of launch pad. Joke stolen from chat.
Ooh, that's like taking a dagger like right into Blue's workforce and just like twisting it. That's too soon.
So I guess I should say it now. About those launch dates, I think they're going to delay a bit.
I think they have delayed a bit.
Wait. Hang on a second. I'm just now realizing another part of that whole spiel is applicable here. So they can static fire in the rain, right?
Yeah, probably. The entire conversation, you could superimpose it on top of the video of New Glenn's conflagration, shall we say, last night. You could take the audio from Ship 36 and the video from New Glenn, and it would fit perfectly.
Yes, because there was some really bad weather in the area of the launch pad yesterday. Like there was a lot of lightning, there was some heavy rain showers as well. Jerry himself was getting rained on trying to fly the drone, getting this exact footage that you're seeing on your screen now. So can you static fire in the rain? Yeah, probably. Whoa! And obviously play the rest of the clip. Also,
LC-36 just blew up.
Also, Jerry was also flying the drone for Ship 36, and Jerry's flying the drone for the New Glenn explosion. So Jerry's if Jerry had a nickel for every time he's caught anomaly footage from his drone, he'd have 2 nickels. But it's weird that it's happened more than once.
Yeah.
And you can narrow it down for a location with 36 relevant to it.
Yeah.
It's weird that it's happened twice.
Yeah, you get rid of in our quote from it, get rid of Ship 36 just blew up, and it's LC-36 just blew up.
And Ryan also pointing out in the back channel, Ship 36, launch complex 36.
Yep.
You guys just figuring this out now?
Insert X-Files music.
Guys, you're just figuring
I've
this
said
out
this
now?
many times over the past not quite 24 hours. It is fun seeing that Ryan is realizing this.
Boy, someone needs to superimpose the audio. Just saying.
That'd be funny.
Let's see. Drew Noir, since Tori works for Blue Origin now, isn't this an observation rather than an anomaly?
No.
Oh my god.
No. If you classify that as an observation, dude, I got no words. No.
You can say observation when the mission still like basically does the job. I don't think you can say just observation when you don't have a launch pad anymore.
Although you probably can say we observed an anomaly.
Yeah, I mean that is fair. And I mean he can say it all he wants.
Yay,
They
pedantic
certainly did observe it.
terminology. Let's see here. Ron Smith, not sure even Blue knows the best way forward until they complete the investigation for East 7 versus 9 variant. Let's wait to see how the pad really looks like. Yeah. Bodger gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Bideford. Hey, Bideford, with a $50 super chat, saying, closed on a house this morning after watching the launch. And now, as Flame Trench started, I've negotiated another contract acceptance. So here's a cheer to 4 of my favorite NSF guys. I'll have to rewind. Yay, thank you, Bideford. Congratulations. And don't worry, you didn't miss anything, just a rocket blowing up.
Just one of the largest explosions in Space Coast history. No big deal. No big deal.
Yeah, which, I mean, someone posted, I think it was in March of 1965, there was an Atlas Centaur that launched from 36 that did almost the exact same thing. So it's not the first time at 36 it's seen that. Jim Yoder saying, I think New Glenn is next to the 4 to fly in 9 to 12 months. Steve Calloway saying, New Glenn's test was such a blast.
Oh.
Boo.
William Nakaro, sorry if I mispronounced that. Could ISRO pick up some of the AST Space Mobile Bluebird launches? They've already launched one last year.
Maybe.
Those who don't know, ISRO is the Indian Space Agency.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't have knowledge of the next payload's weight and size or mass and size, and what vehicles they could launch on with ISRO. I can't say for sure, but maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. I'm sure we will see a lot of payload shuffling.
Yeah.
Sergeant Vosh saying, so a second booster was apparently unnecessary.
Oh, God.
No, it's necessary. It's unnecessary. The Law 26. Which shuttle would you take out of retirement to build the moon base?
Discovery.
Discovery. Go throttle up.
Copy, go throttle up.
I love Endeavor, but let's be honest. If it's going to be any shuttle, Discovery was the workhorse. Discovery was the return to flight shuttle twice. It's got to be Discovery. As much as I love Endeavor. Yeah. Now, we talked about, payload swapping and things like that. All of this comes as Blue was just given a major contract in terms of delivering payloads to the surface of the moon. That was originally going to be the main story this week, was the fact that, hey, NASA announced their plans for the next moon base. And that moon base was supposed to happen starting in 2029 with the early parts of the testing being the initial phase from 2029 now till 2029. By 2032 is when they expected the initial moon base capability to be in place, and after 2032 to have a semi-permanent crew presence on the surface of the moon. They gave out a lot of money in contracts. They gave out 2 lunar transport vehicle contracts of rovers and things that would both be able to operate autonomously on the surface as well as be driven by people. So yeah, those contracts went to Astrolabs and Lunar Outpost. Those were the 2 that got the contract. Here's the caveat though. They had one vehicle that was supposed to be the deliverer of these lunar transport vehicles, and that was Blue Moon. Blue Origin received a contract that would have given them $234 million for each LTV delivered to the surface of the moon. That is a big money contract. And a lot of the renders that we saw used Blue Moon Mark 1, with the eventual goal of being able to use Blue Moon Mark 2 as well as part of the program. About that Blue Moon Mark 1, they were excited because that's one of the launches that is set to happen this year and has been repurposed specifically from just a lunar mission to a lunar mission designed to help out with the recently announced moon base architecture. They kind of repositioned a couple of those upcoming launches. Intuitive Machines 3 was another one, and the Griffin lander are all now science that is meant to support moon base operations. So about that giant massive contract for Blue's lander that was supposed to launch on New Glenn, what does this mean for the future of the moon base that was just announced a couple days ago? See, there it is. There's Blue Moon delivering one of the LTVs.
Well, one of the key takeaways I think from this is obviously Blue Moon Mark 1 is still fine. It wasn't anywhere near the launch pad when this happened, and it is, as far as we are aware, undamaged and unaffected by the events at Launch Complex 36 last night. Remember when I talked about this could be an opportunity for additional launch service provider collaboration earlier? If they want to launch Mark 1 this year, then they need a rocket to fly it. And there's a few other launch providers in the air, or a couple of others at least, who may be capable of flying a payload as massive as Mark 1. Just saying. It'd be really cool to see Mark 1 flying like Falcon Heavy or something.
I mean, yeah, and that's the other thing that's worth noting, is that this one, I believe, 3 meters wide and 8 meters tall, approximately, was the size of Blue Moon Mark 1. So technically, it would have been tiny inside the 7-meter fairing that's used by New Glenn. The one thing that isn't really launch vehicle interchangeable, the one that is launch vehicle agnostic in that case, is Mark 2, the actual lander vehicle, the one that is supposed to be launched next year along with Starship HLS to be tested in Earth orbit with Orion and then eventually be used as a lunar lander in either 28 or 29, depending on whoever was ready first. That has to launch on New Glenn because right now there is literally no other vehicle capable of handling something that size.
Yeah. Mark 2's massive. I mean, there is Falcon Heavy with its extended payload fairing, but that's only extended in length. That isn't extended in width. So it still holds the same diameter as these standard fairings that launch on Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. So, yeah, they need New Glenn for that. Like, there's no other option, no other choice. Like, that's not a negotiable. They need New Glenn for that.
So EJ, what does this mean then for NASA's future here? Because obviously NASA was banking hard on having 2 lunar landers, one from Blue and one from SpaceX. Obviously they have a lot riding on Blue Moon Mark 1 launching and being able to deploy these LTVs. Again, $230 million per lander deployed is a big contract. So how is this going to affect all these plans that Jared Isaacman just came out of? Hey, look, we're going to get back to the moon faster. We're going to have the competition of these 2 different providers here.
Falcon Heavy. Yeah, Falcon Heavy, dude. I mean, the Mark 1 lander will fit in Falcon Heavy, and then that'll use that in the interim, and then New Glenn will be ready to go for Blue Moon Mark 2, you know, after however long it takes to rebuild the pad. Yeah, like, it'll fit in a Falcon Heavy. I'd be wondering about the loads. The Blue Moon Mark 1 lander is 22 tons and change.
I think so, yeah.
It'll fit. Like, you might need to use the extended fairing like you were saying, Max, but it might fit in a regular fairing. If it fits in a prime fairing, I'm worried about loads. It's the same reason why you didn't see, like, the Artemis 1 mission launched on a Falcon Heavy instead. You know, the Falcon 9 upper stage can only take so much of a payload up there before you'll crush it. Now, you know, I know people are going to do a quick Google search now, or if you know, good on you. Like, Falcon 9 in expendable mode can move 23 and a half metric tons to low Earth orbit, right? It can do that. But Falcon 9 is not Falcon Heavy. You were talking, you have 3 times the thrust coming out the bottom. I'm not sure if, the loads can take that. It might be fine. And if it is fine, that's what they should have done that in the first place. But I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, that's actually a good point, because New Glenn is not, as we've seen, is not a particularly fast vehicle off the pad, is it? Whereas Falcon Heavy gets up and goes. So that's a lot more that Mark 1 would have to deal with, or if it even could. That's a really good point, EJ.
Now, somebody already said it in chat. Gareth Cole over there in chat. How would they fuel it? Yeah, that's is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I mean, okay, so Falcon Heavy is a horizontally integrated vehicle. We know that the lander would be okay with that because it was designed to launch on New Glenn, which is also horizontally integrated. So the lander can handle being turned on its side and then turned upright. So you would have to do a lot of retooling not retooling. You'd have to do modifications to the 39A transporter erector, which actually, guys, now that I'm thinking about it, they could get away with it because the demand for Falcon Heavy missions is not incredibly high. There's a lot of downtime on that transporter erector because SpaceX chose to de-scope Falcon 9 operations off of 39A, right? So, yeah, you could probably get away with it. SpaceX could probably modify it, but see, now here's where this gets a little weird. 39A has had the capability of having a hydrolox sphere, but I'm pretty sure that's where Starship's pad is right now, where that sphere was. And there's probably a slim to none chance that that whole system to fuel something on 39A proper is still intact. So you're talking
They've done it, though, with methane. We've seen that happen with IM-1 and IM-2.
Okay.
True.
Yeah,
Intuitive Machines, the lunar landers, those were fueled with the methane on the pad at 39A while Falcon was still getting Carolox.
No, I understand that, but yeah, they built out a methane tank farm for it. I mean, you could still do that. You still have that capability. They'd have to put hydrolox capability back into that system. Sorry, there's clearly precedent here. It could be done. It absolutely could be done. I am wondering something, though, and Alex and I were talking about this before Flame Trench this afternoon. There was an Ars Technica article where Eric Berger over at Ars was talking about, and I honestly, I don't know. I just haven't figured to mention this as not point of fact, but just an interesting bit here. He mentioned in one of his articles that he wrote about New Glenn that it can top off the Mark 1 lander with propellants from the second stage, from a GS2 on orbit, which is, to deal with the boil-off mitigation, or to help with boil-off mitigation. So the landers guys are using fully cryogenic propellants. If the propellants get too hot, they boil off. You could do that either by A, keeping them cold, or B, topping them off because they'll outgas a little bit. Because sitting up there in the sunlight and the vacuum stuff gets really hot really quickly. And it's tough for what's called heat rejection to get rid of it, to dump all the heat. If that is true, then yeah, I'm not sure where Falcon is going to get us. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe put a hydrogen tank inside of an extended Falcon Heavy fairing and then put Mark 1 on top of that. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, we still haven't seen the extended Falcon Heavy fairing fly, just worth noting.
Yeah, Sawyer, I'm actually kind of wondering where that mobile service tower that's supposed to go at 39A, we're kind of wondering what happened to that. SpaceX was like, yeah, we're doing this. It's going to be awesome. And then they never said anything about it ever again.
and we also saw test articles over at Pad 40 undergoing what we assumed to be acoustic testing because they were like right across the road from the launch complex. Like basically where the new LZ is over at LZ 40, that's where those fairings were. And that was when they were launching Starlinks every 2 to 4 days. And those fairings were just getting pummeled by the sound energy from Falcon all the time. And we haven't seen them since they rolled back to what looked to be the Roberts Road Hangar X, Hangar X2 area. Also a big question mark.
Yeah, but I mean, we haven't had like clearly we haven't had payloads that necessitate those fairings. Like they were developed for a very limited number of uses. They're not going to be reused a ton like the regular fairings, to the best of my knowledge, but they're able to support missions that would otherwise be unsupported. But there's no reason to fly those unnecessarily. I'm sure customers wouldn't want to move to an unproven fairing if it fits in a normal one. They'd be like, SpaceX, come on, why would we fly a payload with this fairing when we have this one that's flown hundreds and hundreds of times? Yeah, I look forward to seeing those flights actually start to take place. Like different rocket outlines, changing rocket outlines is a really cool thing to see.
Agreed.
Yeah, and we talk about Falcon Heavy though. Nathan wondering what about Vulcan Centaur, Ariane 6. I mean, the main thing I think with Ariane 6 is transporting it all the way from the Cape down to French Guiana, which, I mean, they did that with James Webb, but I feel like that was a special circumstance, given that was really the only vehicle that could fit James Webb at the time.
True.
What do you think?
I mean, I think EJ is a lot more knowledgeable on this exact topic, but I don't think Vulcan has the performance to send Mark 1 where it needs to go beyond low Earth orbit. I know it can carry it can carry Vulcan's mass to low Earth orbit if I have my numbers correct, but I don't think it can take it to the moon. EJ, I'm gonna have to enlist your help on that one.
Yeah, I gotta look it up. Give me a second. So Vulcan VC6 TLI even with the upgraded engines is 12 tons. So yeah, that's not going to work. So I would assume that Ariane 6 is probably somewhere in the same ballpark there. Falcon Heavy would probably be your only other option. There.
Wait.
But there is another. What's up?
Actually, Alex pointing out something really important in the back channel, which I completely forgot about. Mark 1 is not being launched into TLI. It's launching into Earth orbit and then performing its own apogee raise. I completely forgot about that. So that does change things.
If that's the case, then putting it on a Falcon Heavy would avoid that boil-off problem that Blue was trying to solve. Because Falcon Heavy you could expend the center core and the upper stage and send it on TLI instead. And your mission duration would be significantly reduced that way, Alex. So you wouldn't need to worry about the top-off system for the lander at that point if you send it on a higher energy Hohmann transfer. Am I thinking about this right?
Sounds right. But what was your other option that you were teasing there?
SLS.
Oh, God.
Yeah. SLS Cargo. How'd that go?
No, not SLS Cargo. Restart EUS, get ML2 tooled up, and nobody can sit here and say, well, that's going to take time. Yeah, I know. Because rebuilding a launch pad isn't, right? Like, tool it up, get the capability, co-manifest the payloads. Put Mark 1 in the universal stage adapter with an Orion on top of it. What?
Apollo almost.
Yeah. I mean, Mark 1 won't be able to land people down on the surface, and Mark 2 is too big to fit in SLS's stage adapter. But so you send an Orion out there, Orion will rendezvous with a lander or something, and then you send Mark 1 down to the surface. So a lot of people I see a lot of people in chat. You're looking at me funny. I could see it. I could see it through the camera. Right? I could feel it through the
nut bar.
Yeah, awkward for the people who are in the bathroom right now, but still continue.
You cannot sit here and look at me in a straight face and say that having the EUS right now would be a bad thing in light of these last couple of events, in light of the last 24 hours of events.
Keyword, if we had it, which we don't.
Yeah, but at this point, it'll take. I mean, it'll take just as long to get that up and running, and as it would to get New Glenn's baseline capability back.
Okay, so you're saying, oh, dude, I don't know. So you're saying it would take the same amount of time to revamp or re-kickstart EUS production or manufacturing as it would to rebuild all of LC-36 to support at least a 7x2 New Glenn. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Ding ding.
Oh, brother.
Well, Max, you got to remember that we won't need an EUS until 2029, because if they do Artemis 3 with the mass simulated ICPS, right, and then you do Artemis 4 with the ICPS, right? You know.
But you just said that you think it would take 12 to 16 months to rebuild 36.
Yeah, so
it's not going to take that long to get an EUS. It's going to take much longer. Much longer. Assuming that was greenlit.
If NASA decides that they want it quicker, they'll get it done quicker.
They've been trying to do that for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's a catch-all to try and make your argument sound better, to be honest with you.
I'm just saying, dog.
Yeah, because the current events and circumstances with the 15th NASA administrator is the same as it was with the 14th, huh? Yeah, those are the same things. It's operating exactly the same.
And using EOS as a hypothetical example to launch Mark 1 when it was never going to exist in the first place is also kind of bolstering your argument for there is another.
But it was going to exist. There's a launch pad for it at 39A. What do you mean it doesn't?
EOS does not exist.
It absolutely does.
It's a render of a box.
I've seen square tubing.
If EUS exists, so does Vulcan Heavy, or like a New Glenn Heavy, or Starship Super Duper Heavy with three so super heavy boosters strapped together.
Max, I think you're taking it a little bit far. Like EUS definitely exists more than any of those other things. Does
it's a tight poll, by the way. If we should bring back the EUS
as the solution,
that is pretty tight.
I don't know. Like I think EJ does have a good point here. It'd be great to have the most capable version of every vehicle and to have options to fall back on when one vehicle doesn't. But will it be ready / would it have been ready in time? That's the question.
That's a good question.
I mean, if we kept going with the EUS, it would definitely be ready before New Glenn restores its capability. The point that I'm more trying to illustrate...
Were you not so optimistic that New Glenn is going to have its capabilities restored earlier this show? And now you're saying that EUS would be online before... I feel like you've flip-flopped confidence of New Glenn's rapid return to flight.
Like that's what I was trying to get at. It's like you just said you think it'll take 12 to 16 months to get New Glenn back on the pad and flying again, including or just getting the pad rebuilt and making sure there's a vehicle ready to fly. Mm-hmm. So if you're telling me, EJ, if you were green lit right now, this very moment, to revamp and re-kickstart EUS production, it would be ready before then? That's all I'm trying to narrow down here.
If NASA chose it as a priority, the argument that I'm trying to make is that they really should have it as a priority, because it's very clear at this point that the long lead items in our national goals for our spaceflight architecture to get back to the moon are clearly commercial. Am I wrong in saying that? The long lead item here is that we don't have landers, and now we don't have the vehicles to move said landers. And this is a pretty good, if anything, I think this is a wake-up call. And it's, you guys say like, oh, you thought the pad was going to be done quick. Now you don't think it's going to be done quick. No, the point that I'm trying to make is that this is a wake-up call for our national program, that you can't always lean into commercial contractors and a complicated multi-vehicle architecture. A co-manifested state public space program is always going to be your hedge against the commercial partners having problems like this.
So here's the question then that Rarest Ace asked, because you mentioned that. Obviously right now it feels like all of the pressure is on SpaceX. It is all on Starship at this point to push the lunar program forward, because right now that seems to be the vehicle that is likely to be operational quickest. I don't know how quick, because we haven't had an orbital flight yet. We haven't seen HLS hardware in quite a while. So we don't know where they're actually at status-wise. But Rarest Ace is asking, did NASA put too many eggs in the Blue Origin basket?
Ooh.
Sawyer, I don't think they had a choice because of the aforementioned reason. They definitely didn't have a choice. Sorry, they didn't. I mean, Starship is a little ways out, and I'm not trying to speak bad about Starship. I love that thing. And frankly, when Starship starts flying, all of these other options are going to be redundant in my mind, but people aren't ready for that conversation. I don't think people are ready for that one.
I see.
Guys, the reason my impetus for this whole thing with the EUS isn't some kind of fanboyism for SLS or something. NASA should have their own way to get to the moon on top of commercial solutions. And people can say like, oh, what about the moon base, EJ? These ideas are all great. Good and dandy. Well, yes, look at what happened. This idea you're already seeing the fruits of this labor, right? Like leaning too far into commercial can be NASA's undoing. Because, I mean, guys, over the last 24 hours, how many people have you seen post on the internet or say in a streamer chat, oh my gosh, we just lost the moon? If we had SLS with EUS working, granted, I'll concede that that's probably unlikely that it would be working at this point. But if we did, we wouldn't have this problem. This wouldn't be a problem. And I know people are going to say, oh, it's so expensive. And SLS, but, you're gonna list 1,000 different arguments, be it fiscal responsibility or not fiscal responsibility, be like fiscal conservatism or anything else there that why we shouldn't do this. And yeah, you could say they're like, oh, SLS is not gonna be good. We don't want to use that. We want to use New Glenn and Starship. All right, how's that working out? How's that working out to achieve our national goals for our space program? In a timely manner. Yeah, fun fact, it's not.
Well, I honestly I don't disagree, EJ. I think just purely on the front of NASA, should NASA have their own avenue and an ability to get to the moon, I would like to see that. That would be a reality. That would be great. Now, the reasons why that is or isn't going to happen is a whole other conversation for a different time. But yes, if SLS with the exploration upper stage was a thing right now, that would be that would save everything. That would save this entire program. But at least for, I shouldn't say the entire program, but for, in the case of Mark 1 keeping things on schedule and on time, that would be a great solution to have. But in terms of why we don't have it, that's a whole other can of worms and a whole like rabbit hole conversation, obviously, to go down between why SLS isn't what it should and shouldn't be. But I agree. That would be a tremendous thing to have.
Yeah, Max, what I'm saying is that we should do this. Like, it's not really a, well, I think they're going to do this by then. No, this is what you should be doing. This is what you should be doing because, I think that public-private partnerships is the ultimate redundancy towards long-term sustainability in a space program. We've seen the fruits of what happens when we just do it publicly. Just, the Apollo program, which was fantastic, but there, you don't know when someone's going to come along, Nixon, and cancel the entire program, and then we're done with it. Simultaneously, you've seen what we've seen historically what happens when we lean too far into commercial. Everybody leaned too far into commercial launch vehicles in the 90s, and then the dot-com bubble blew, and then the launch market immediately dried up, and that's part of the reason why ULA exists in the first place, right? And by proxy, part of the reason why SpaceX exists in the first place. But that's another story. We've seen what happens when the pendulum goes too far one way or too far the other way, right? If we nail it right down the center and have redundant ways, and I won't sit here and tell you that is the cheapest solution here, you can ensure long-term sustainability, right? Because right now, commercial partners are impeding our goals. Now, I'm not saying if we did it all publicly, on the other hand, I'm not saying like if say NASA just said, no, we're just going to let's just build another Saturn V and go from there. I'm not saying that that's a good idea either. I mean, even though I kind of want to, who doesn't want to see a Saturn V launch, right? But
yes.
The point is that the way forward is to have redundant architectures, at least for the time being. Like have redundant architectures for another 10 to 15 years before the commercial, so you can kind of wait until the commercial market matures itself enough where you could just buy vehicles wholesale, because clearly we're not at that point. With Starship and with New Glenn, we're not at that point.
No. And I mean,
No.
it is. I don't know if it's putting all their eggs in one basket. Eggs in one basket.
You all right?
No, strong.
Bame's not having
Anyway.
a strong.
Flatulence.
But I mean, I think that they were looking at SpaceX for the near-term architecture and Blue for the future architecture. SpaceX is going to be the one that I think is going to be the first lander they rendezvous and dock with, the first landers that they actually use, and of course, eventually being able to help deliver large parts of the actual moon base itself to the surface. They're figuring by the time we get to 2029, that's when Blue is going to be able to deliver these lunar transport vehicles, the rovers. You have other companies that are going to be delivering the little drones that are going to be hopping around. I think they figured they would be the longer term architect because they're a little bit farther behind than SpaceX is. And I think it's safe to say that that is obviously very much the case now. So I'm not super worried about it because I think SpaceX will take up the slack until Blue is back online. And then once they are back online, that's when the NASA architecture that they were given is going to come to the forefront. So that's my opinion on it.
I guess, Sawyer, but I mean, dude, I like once again, I don't mind Blue Moon Mark 1 and Mark 2 architecture, pretty good. I love Starship's architecture, but those are both launches where you need to do multiple launches to even get anywhere near the moon. I think if we're going to ensure a sustainable, and I know, guys, this is going to sound really crazy. Just bear with me, all right? I know I'm the nut bar, all right?
Okay, nut bar.
Yeah, see, there we go. Okay, so let me give you a conditional hypothetical, all right? There's a problem on our future moon base that we've built out, right? How do you get people home? How do you get people home? Say we needed to get something out there quickly, right? Is multi-launch vehicle architecture a solution here? I mean, if Elon has his way with Starship, it'll take a couple hours to get a Starship ready to go to be fueled out on the moon. And guess what, guys? When we get to that point, that's what we should be doing. Sorry, I don't mean to be that guy. But say we need to get something out there and we need to get something out there quickly, right? To like in an emergency or something, we got to send another Orion capsule out there, right? Having a co-manifested payload with a quick way to get down to the surface that doesn't require on-orbit refilling and minimal rendezvous proximity operations dockings to get down to the surface would be a really nice, albeit redundant, capability to have, right? That would be good. Sawyer, think about it like STS-400 with the shuttle. It's good to hedge your bets in this business. You know it is, right?
Yeah.
And just in case, like what happens if, in the future, Starship's flying and, there's something grounds it or something grounds New Glenn, like what's going on right now. Having NASA still operating on a somewhat, reliable schedule, like maybe one SLS launch every 3 months. That would give you enough to have one teed up at any given point during a tenure out at the moon base. Guys, I don't know about you, but I think that solution is in redundancy. There is worth its weight in gold for future moon base operations. I don't know. Call me nuts. Just saying.
Worth its weight in Capton?
Yeah. Now we're talking.
Because it's gold color. Anyway, I don't know. Max, what do you think?
Silver, but all right.
Well, anyway, Max, what do you think?
What's the exact question you wanted to ask Sawyer about that exactly? Like what specific point are you asking?
The question originally was, did NASA put all of its eggs in the Blue Origin basket?
Right. To kind of echo what EJ was saying, they didn't really have a lot of choice, did they?
Yeah.
So it wasn't their fault. It wasn't Blue Origin's fault. It's just the decision that was made at a higher level to like that was the main avenue or the avenue that NASA was given the choice of moving on this project, and that's what they had to work with. I mean, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's really when you have such a limited choice as to how to move your hardware X, Y, and Z points in X, Y, or Z time frame. It's like tying your hands behind your back and tying your feet to your hands at the same time, you know. So they didn't have a choice. Like EJ already thoroughly explained it why I could not do anywhere near as good of a job there. Trying to reiterate, but like that's not their fault.
It feels
but
like
also but also at the same time with Blue, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, kind of Blue put a lot of their own eggs in one basket, and it kind of bit them in the butt this time around with the lack of test sites or off-site test sites and having to do everything on their one launch pad. Keywords being one launch pad. And obviously, if something like this was to happen, it takes them out of the game completely for 8, 12, 14, 16 months, or however long this would take to get New Glenn back up and running. It all snowballs off each other, and it's really unfortunate. But it's not NASA's fault.
This really feels like you're going through a bad breakup and your friends are trying to comfort you afterwards. So it's not your fault. But it's not your fault. That's what it feels like at this point.
I know. It doesn't take away from how crappy the whole situation is, but it's yeah.
See, like, I'm not trying to be like dancing on the grave of Complex 36 right now. I really think Blue doesn't have a choice, and they got to build those pads back quickly, and they will. I don't think this is going to break the bank with them, right? But also at the same time, I think this is a good, albeit a little bit of a violent lesson learned in redundant spaceflight architecture and how we should really go about exploring the moon in the future. I'm just putting it out there. Like,
That's a good question. This has been a very good topic. I've enjoyed this one. Also enjoyed the support that we've been getting from people here, which we appreciate as we also continue to count down towards the launch of Atlas V, the penultimate Atlas 551. As of right now, the last update from ULA is that the countdown is continuing smoothly towards liftoff. They are not working any issues, and the last time they updated on their weather check was that weather is surprisingly favorable, given the forecast was originally 30% chance of favorable weather at launch. But let me thank some people here. SB Boom. Jerry is the ULA sniper. Confirmed.
Oh, dear.
I wonder how many people actually remember the story of the ULA sniper. If you do, let me know in chat. Or if you're confused, just say, what was that? Because I'm intrigued how many people still remember the whole ULA sniper story.
It's a rather intriguing one.
Oh, God, it was kind of funny. Sad, but funny. I'm just watching chat because it takes a second for them to catch up. There we go. A couple of people do. And of course, my chat stopped scrolling.
And ironically, it also relates to Amos 6, which we talked about earlier.
That's a surprising amount of what was that. But yeah.
So TLDR.
Do you want to explain it?
Yeah, TLDR, essentially, when the Amos 6 disaster happened back in 2016, 10 years ago now, geez, there was a theory going around, or one of the possible outcomes was that there was a sharpshooter on a nearby facility to Space Launch Complex 40 with hostile intent toward the launch vehicle. And there was, I don't want to say enough supporting evidence, but there was enough evidence to support that theory lined up enough to make it plausible enough for SpaceX to think about it beyond like a 3-second conversation, right? Inquiries went to SpaceX's launch team to talk to ULA's personnel about it over at SPOC, or the Spaceflight Processing and Operations Center, which is actually now VIF-A near Complex 40 and 41 for Complex 41. I think also Elon tweeted about it as well, like way back in the day, and that's how the whole theory like really caught traction. Obviously
about reaching out to the FBI to investigate.
Right, yeah, and then obviously it was shut down pretty quick because it obviously was not a reasonable. It wasn't reasonable enough probable cause to the issue of Amos 6's explosion to warrant any further investigation. But because of how just outlandish that theory is, it lives on in spaceflight lore today. That's essentially the TLDR kind of poorly explained version of it.
Yeah, back when ULA and SpaceX were a lot more competitive at the time,
Yes.
and ULA had the advantage because they had more flight hardware and more flight experience compared to SpaceX, which was still pretty new at that point.
Yeah.
But it was wild to think that there was someone with a weapon on top of one of ULA's buildings aiming at Falcon 9. Roger saying, everybody wish our beloved friend Wilbo a happy early 68th orbit.
Hey!
Happy birthday, Wilbo.
Happy birthday, Wilbo.
The law. Is it awkward that tonight is actually a blue moon?
Oh, God. Is it really?
Yes.
It's a sign.
I think tomorrow technically is the full moon, but it is a blue moon because it's two in the same month.
Sawyer, before you go on to say that, before you continue with support, this is a crazy theory. Like the things happen. The universe works in mysterious ways. Okay, obviously this explosion was awful and terrible, but obviously we talked about how this could be an opportunity for something else to either steer Artemis in a different direction or to encourage or force a situation for other LSPs to work together to accomplish our main goal here of getting the U.S. and its partners back to the moon's surface. With this happening right around a blue moon, and the booster that blew up in this being "No, it's necessary," being named "No, it's necessary." Maybe it's like maybe it's fate. I don't know. Just a crazy
That's what I'm saying, man.
Theory.
It's a wake-up call.
Yeah, it's crazy theory to throw into the universe, right? But there's always a silver lining, as cliche as that freaking sounds, as often as you may hear it for some of less severe circumstances. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and I choose to still believe or look at this through a positive lens, and that this is a huge opportunity for other things to happen for the benefit of not just Blue Origin, but other LSPs and NASA's overall goal of getting back to the moon. But alas. Sorry, complete rant. Anyway, support.
Whoa, that's like freaky, man. Seen some things,
God.
man, and some stuff.
Oh God.
Steve Cowley saying Blue Origin engineer accidentally put his favorite song into test, burning down the house. That's a little more than 365 degrees.
Burning down the house.
Darker Still, New Glenn, brought to you by Michael Bay.
Hey.
Not enough lens flare, but...
Not enough lens
J.J.
flare.
Abrams.
That's Abrams, yeah.
Yes.
I'm tired. It was a long night, folks, okay? We were up dealing with all the stuff that happened here with New Glenn.
That was a crazy night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Chiharu Kinjo, thank you for becoming a Padrat member. Jim Yoder saying, if I'm Gwen, I'd be on the phone with Dave today. That's Gwen Shotwell and Dave Limp. Gwen with SpaceX, Dave with Blue.
Maybe, I don't know, dude. If you want to get Mark 1 to where it needs to go this year, you kind of have to start working on that right now. So.
Yeah. And Brian Green gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much for all of that. It's worth noting now, we have now passed the 30-minute mark, L-minus 30 minutes until the launch of Atlas V, carrying more of the Amazon LEO satellites. This is Amazon LEO 7, so the 7th flight of 8 that they will be doing for this internet constellation of satellites. This is a live view right now at Slick 41, Space Launch Complex 41 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. At this point, all 3 cryogenic tanks on the rocket have been topped off to flight level, so that is a fully fueled rocket, and they are currently in a planned T-minus 4-minute hold. So it is T-minus 4 minutes in holding, but about 30 minutes or so until launch. That's this whole T-minus L-minus clock thing that they do. And once the clock resumes at T-minus 4 minutes, that is when the L and T-minus clocks will sync up. At this point, they are now just waiting for the final pre-flight weather assessment from the Space Force's Launch Weather Office. Amazingly, the weather has been looking quite miserable all day, and yet the last check was that weather was favorable. I would have lost money if I'd have bet that the weather would still be favorable an hour before launch.
I mean, like Sawyer, you and I know very well how fast the weather can change in Florida, especially this time
Weather
of
is
year.
go.
I mean, also, like for Flight 12's first launch attempt, like the weather was forecasted to be miserable all day, and then it cleared up miraculously well, like an hour or two before the window opening for Starship. And again, with how how dynamic the weather can be in Florida, for it to change that quickly for the better, it's certainly possible, especially at this time in the evening when the weather usually has calmed down and the atmosphere is less dynamic.
Yeah, just updated, by the way, right now. Weather is observed go for liftoff a half hour from now, according to the countdown's final planned briefing by the launch weather officer.
Fantastic.
I mean, it might not be the best view with how cloudy it looks out, though. But
so one of the things that really caught my attention when you were introducing Atlas there was it's ULA's and Amazon's 7th of 8 planned missions together with Atlas, meaning that after today's mission, assuming it launches in less than a half hour's time, there is only one more non-Starliner assigned Atlas V to fly.
That's wild. And we might see that as soon as next month as well. They were trying to get these off really quickly so that they can go back to all of their the Vulcan launches that they have planned for these. But
yeah,
this is wild. Yeah. The next to last Atlas 551, which for those who don't know, 551 is the 5-meter fairing on top. It is 5 of the GEM 63 solid rocket boosters on the side and a single upper stage engine on the Centaur upper stage. So that is the 551. After this one and Amazon Leo 8, that is it for any Atlas currently scheduled to fly with a fairing of any kind. After that, the only ones remaining are set aside for Starliner in the N22 configuration, which is no fairing because it'll have a capsule on it, 2 solid rocket boosters on the side, and 2 engines on the Centaur upper stage.
That is really sad to think about. God, that came up fast, didn't it? Good Lord.
I guess the question, though, is would they potentially consider repurposing those Atlases, given that Starliner's still having teething pains, shall we say?
I mean, that opens up the conversation. It's a really tough call there. I mean, it is and it isn't, because while in theory, if NASA was to forego, say, the last 4 or 5 contracted Starliner missions they currently have, I mean, currently NASA's contract with Starliner was modified, and they have 2 less contracted missions, at least confirmed missions, with 2 left on reserve should they want or need them. So, and even if they chose to forego half, if not a majority, of the assigned Starliner Atlas V boosters and Centaurs, they don't have any fairings for them. They shut down the manufacturing for the Atlas fairings a long time ago. So it's a really unique situation whether or not, speaking of restarting production lines and retooling, if they would invest enough to make just enough more payload fairings for Atlas V. But like, they had the boosters, or they would have the boosters, and they would have the Centaurs, but they don't have the actual payload fairings to hold whatever payload that they would want to fly if it was Leo, forgive me, or whatever else they wanted to move over from Vulcan, should the issues with the BE-4, if that is confirmed to be the issue, carry on for a longer period of time. Because once Atlas is gone, if Vulcan's having issues, ULA is not flying. Like, they're grounded. Like, there's no other option. speaking of putting all eggs in one basket, ULA is putting all eggs in one Vulcan basket. Granted, in different shapes and sizes, but go ahead.
Yeah, just an update. We do have a slight change to the T0. It is now 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time on the dot, 23:35:00 UTC.
Oh darn! Oh, 1.5 minutes.
1.5 minute delay.
Oh heavens! What are we gonna do?
Don't worry, they still have 28.5 minutes in the window if they need it.
Yes.
But just worth noting that, so our team in the background can also update the clock accordingly. But yeah, I mean, the other issue now, and this kind of still ties back to Blue, is the Amazon Leo constellation is quite far behind. It was supposed to obviously have about 3,000 satellites in orbit by July. We know that's not happening. We know there's the extension, but now what? Because you're going to run out of Atlas flights for it. So that leaves you with Ariane 6.
Yep.
And Vulcan. As of right now, that's it.
That's really kind of alarming. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if I have much more of value or substance to add with that statement, but yeah, that's oof.
What do you think, EJ? I mean, obviously they want to get the constellation up as much as they can. They have other companies that want to use the service. I believe it was Delta Airlines that went with Amazon Leo for its internet coverage.
They're going to have to use Falcon. They're going to have to. The Amazon Leo constellation obviously is owned by Amazon. Amazon's a publicly traded company. When major shareholders were not happy with the rate of progress for Amazon Leo, they forced Amazon to buy Falcon 9 launches because that was the cheapest solution, and it was the Amazon being fiduciarily, that's, I don't know if that's a word, responsible to their shareholders. Now that New Glenn's down, that's probably going to happen again if I had to guess.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to have to pay for it, though. The other thing that they had going for them with New Glenn is that you could launch 48 satellites at a time. You can only launch, about approximately half that, a little less than half of that with Falcon 9 and with Ariane 6.
Yeah, I guess, or that would be a detraction, right, dude? Like, yeah, you'd think like, oh, it's only 24, it's not, or I don't know, however, 18, right? But see, there's this one thing that Falcon 9 can fly every other day.
Although they haven't right now. They've really scaled down all of their Falcon 9 launch operations, given the fact that they're focusing on Starship more. They got rid of one of the drone ships, and that's being transitioned over to Starship transport now, as opposed to actually being a landing barge.
But even if even if they put like 10 Amazon Leo satellites on a Falcon 9 and RTLS the Falcons to get around your drone ship problem, I'm pretty sure that would still be quicker. Like, dude, let's be real. Like, okay, I like New Glenn. I think that rocket's going to fly, and I think Blue will rebuild it, and it'll be awesome, and it'll be great. But even if LC-36 didn't just crater itself, right? New Glenn was only going to fly, I mean, let's do some quick math out. New Glenn was only going to fly, I don't know what, like, let's say 5 more times. Like, I'll be optimistic, like I usually am. Let's say 6 more times throughout the year, right? So we're looking at, let me just do some quick math on the calculator. Don't do math in public. So that's 6 more New Glenn launches, 48, say each one of them has 48. That's 288 satellites, all right? 288 satellites. Now, if you divide that by 10, say they're doing RTLSs with Falcon, that's 28 Falcon launches. That's nothing. That's nothing for SpaceX. They can do 28 launches in 5 months. That's no problem, and achieve the exact same thing and probably more. Like, I mean, think about it, dude. Wouldn't that be one heck of a timeline where Falcon 9 completes the Amazon Leo? The Amazon Leo network, right? If it's like, if they could do 15 Amazon Leo satellites with Falcon 9 and afford an RTLS, dude, then that number goes down even more. That's 15 launches. SpaceX can handle 15 launches by the end of the year. That's no problem.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, upper level winds have now been verified acceptable for launch.
Holy cow,
Cool.
that turned fast. Jeez.
Yeah, the weather originally was 30% favorable, worth noting, as we now pass under 20 minutes to go until this launch. Which, speaking of timeline, right about now they should be doing their version of engine chill, starting to flow some of that propellant through those engines that they have there. Well, I guess it's engine nozzles. It's a single RD-180 engine that just happens to have the two nozzles on it, which can get confusing, but it is technically one engine.
Yes. It is still, despite having two different combustion chambers, there's only one set of turbopumps, which is what qualifies it as a singular engine.
Yep. And there it is over at Slick 41, Space Launch Complex 41 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. We'll see as the countdown progresses. At the approximately 7 minutes to go until launch is when they'll perform the go, no-go poll to proceed into the terminal count. And if so, that terminal count will begin at L-/T- 4 minutes and counting, which will, at that point, the T and L- clocks will be one and the same. They will finish topping off all the propellants, which are in top-off mode currently, get all those tanks pressurized and ready for flight levels, and then, if all goes well, at about 3 seconds or so until launch is when that RD-180 engine will ignite, and then we see liftoff a couple seconds after that. This will take about 52 to 53 seconds to reach max Q, the maximum aerodynamic pressure on the rocket. The payload fairing will jettison at about 3 minutes and 5 seconds into flight. The SRB is jettisoning prior to that at 1 minute 46 seconds into flight. And BECO booster engine cutoff, so on that Common Core booster that you see there for Atlas, that is set to shut down at 4 minutes and 21 seconds, with the Centaur engine set to burn 4.5 minutes or so into flight. And then once it's in space, they have a quite long deployment method where they deploy 3 at a time in 9 of the deployments, and the 10th deployment is 2 satellites. So that is what we are hopefully going to see in just a little bit. Again, I'm legitimately amazed that the weather is favorable.
You and I both.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good view of the sky there. At least it's the thinner clouds. It's not the big, thick ones that are issues with the cumulus cloud rule. Which the cumulus cloud rule, for those who don't know, is certain types of storm clouds. Those are usually the big, thick, puffy ones, not these thin, wispy ones. If it flies through it, it can actually create its own lightning that could strike the launch vehicle. So that is why they tend not to launch into those. It's not so much launching into precipitation, it's launching into those precipitation clouds that could cause lightning. And if anyone remembers the silly rocket, that was one of the launch commit criteria for Ares 1X was triboelectrification.
It's a fun word, that.
It really is.
Triboelectrification.
That's one of my go-to words when I talk about spaceflight to confuse people.
It almost looks monochrome with how just gray it is out there right now. With Atlas is basically invisible almost, or blends in with the clouds back there because of the white fairing and some of the vapor coming off of the core booster there.
Yeah, and it's also with the way that the transporter is there. That kind of makes it hard to see the burnt umber, orangish kind of color of the core stage there.
But also, once those 5 solids light with the RD-180, there's going to be no mistaking where Atlas is or what it looks. So,
and Atlas is one of the fastest vehicles I've ever seen take off.
Well, the 551 is, because Atlas can also be simultaneously one of the slowest ones we've ever seen get off the pad. We're talking NG1 levels of slow getting off the pad, if you have like a 501 or a 401 Atlas with no solids on board, it does not get off the pad in a hurry. It takes its sweet time.
Yeah, but the 551, you will see it jumps out of frame very fast.
Yes.
And then, and that's just the 5. I still can't wait till we get VC6, Vulcan Centaur with the 6 solids on it.
That is going to be, because a Vulcan VC4 is already the most powerful vehicle to have ever flown from Space Launch Complex 41. Now, add 2 more solids onto that. I don't want to be anywhere near that rocket at that launch pad.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm good. Again, for the people that were explaining tribal electrification, that's exactly what I was talking about, where it flies through clouds and creates its own lightning, because I saw a question on that. Mechazilla asking, I'm in the Detroit area, and it's clear here. Any chance I can see it? I wouldn't think Detroit.
What? Sorry.
I don't know what.
Sorry, my wife's from Michigan. I feel compelled to say that.
Although I will say, given ULA's launch visibility map that they do offer, Detroit is actually within one of the circles here.
If you looked low on the horizon and you were like, I mean, if you were at like Lake St. Clair or something, dude, look low on the horizon, you might be able to see it.
That would be approximately 390 seconds into flight.
Yeah, it would be low on the horizon, probably 7 to 8 minutes, 390 seconds, wherever that is. You'd have to look towards. I'm not going to say look towards Windsor. Basically, if you're on the river, look towards Windsor. It'll be behind the buildings.
Yeah, and this is going northeasterly, for those who don't know. So trajectory-wise, that means if you have clear skies, especially given how close it is to sunset, it might be worth going outside and taking a look. We're talking visibility all the way through Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, all the way up towards Canada. So EJ should be around the Boston area about 330 seconds into flight.
I'm going to go see if there is clear skies outside. If you'll excuse me, Sawyer, I will be back in about 20 seconds.
I'm counting.
Wonder why. Wonder why I'd be going out to look at that. Yeah, Wyoming coast, not entirely sure about that one.
You never know. You might see it from there.
For those who don't know, it's a running joke here at NSF. Yeah, Carolinas, South Carolina should see it about 150 seconds into flight. North Carolina, around 210 seconds into flight. How are the skies, EJ, by you?
Yeah, I'm back. It's cloudy. I'm not going to be able to see it.
Of course. It's cloudy where I am because I'm also in Florida, but a little further south. Also, I'm kind of hosting this right now. So as much as I'd like to go outside, yeah, a little busy at the moment. Coming up now on under 12 minutes to go until launch. So far, everything is proceeding as planned. The vehicle systems engineer polling should be complete over in Denver. That's their technical team, and they do their own evaluation of rocket data and systems and performance throughout the countdown, and that will then be factored into the big final go, no-go count that they do about 7-ish minutes before launch. And there we go, 11 minutes to go. Still wild to me that this is the next to last Atlas 551 and potentially next to last Atlas in general, given whatever the heck is going on with Starliner.
Well, I think I don't want to say it'll be safe to assume, but I think we'll get at least 1 or 2 more Starliner flights depending on how things go with that program. But yeah, I mean, this is the classic Atlas 5 shape, whether it be a 5 like a 500 series or a 400 series. A 500 series has become extremely commonplace. with the last 400 series Atlas flying in middle of 2022. But yeah, that's the iconic Atlas V shape that we've become used to, with that big old payload fairing and some solid rocket motor strapped to its side. And after the next, so this is the second to last one. After the next one, we're only going to have the N22 bodyguard style Atlas Vs left. And who knows how many of those will actually fly
Personnel
at
and
the end
visitors remain
of the
in
day.
present position until launch. Maintain operational silence in the LCC.
Good call-outs there from Mission Control.
If a condition exceeds a launch constraint anytime after the terminal count status check, the observer shall announce hold, hold, hold on channel 1, identify their station, and briefly state the reason for the hold. Flight control, perform launch on time verification. Roger. OSM, place SRB ignition SNA switch in the enable position.
Enabled.
LOX 2, verify CSA purge flowing GN2 to the CISA.
Verified.
OSM, verify the FCO, ROC, and OSM hold fire switches are in the proceed position.
Confirmed.
RLM, verify red line monitor and vent table are in the correct configuration for terminal count.
Verified.
RC, verify solar radiation acceptable for launch.
Verified.
All right, that's just going over what would happen if they need to stop the count after that T-minus 4 minute mark. We are used to hearing those kind of things. Hopefully we don't hear those 3 words. We did see there just a moment ago in the corner of the screen, it did say weather 55% favorable as of now, although the last update that we received from ULA is that the weather was indeed go. And of course, we will hear all of that for certain in the next minute and a half or so. That is when we will get the final go, no-go poll countdown for all of the different teams in the ASOC over there, the Advanced Spacecraft Operations Center, which is where ULA bases all of their countdowns out of. It's on the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station side, kind of near the pad. So next up will be that readiness poll. The launch director currently just receiving status inputs on technical readiness from the Director of Engineering at ULA, as well as the Amazon Spacecraft Mission Director. All of this will feed into that go, no-go poll. The poll will be conducted by launch conductor Scott Barney, who is a regular voice that you will hear if you have heard ULA and Atlas countdowns before. And there is a look inside the ASOC there. So we should be coming up on that readiness polling shortly. These are all of the different systems that will need to be green and go for launch. In about 15 seconds, we should hear Scott Barney conduct that poll, and once that happens, we will listen in.
L-minus 7 minutes. Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems propulsion.
Go.
Hydraulics.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
Water.
Go.
Centaur systems propulsion.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Gas.
Go.
Electrical systems airborne.
Go.
Ground.
Go.
Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
GCQ.
Go.
Op support.
Go.
COM.
Go.
Umbilicals.
Go.
Environmental control systems.
Go.
Red eye monitor. Go. Quality.
Go.
Ops safety officer.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
Go.
Anomaly chief.
Go.
Range and weather.
No go due to weather.
And you have
There's a no-go.
Estimated clear time is 23:45 Zulu.
Roger. Launch director, we have a no-go for weather. Expect to clear 23:45.
Copy. I'll be coming
That's
back to you with a new T0 momentarily.
It's about a 13 minute.
ready.
It's about a 13-minute slip from the original or the newer T0 that they had set. No, I'm sorry. That's 8 minutes. I'm sorry. That's 8 minutes.
How long is the launch window, guys? Do we know?
It's 30 minutes. It was a half-hour window. Well, technically 29 minutes if you want to be exact.
Current liftoff time is how far into the window?
About 2, if I'm not mistaken. 1.5 to 2.
A minute and a half in currently.
Okay, we got time. All right, cool. That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, okay, all right, we got time.
And it's worth noting that per the ULA launch blog, weather conditions were no-go due to anvil clouds moving too close to the pad.
Mm-hmm. Anvil clouds are, for the most part, thunderstorms, guys. They're clouds that are shaped like anvils. They look like kind of like an hourglass. Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want lightning hitting the rocket.
No go for launch due to weather constraints.
Yep, and again, those are the ones that if it flies through it, it runs the risk of creating lightning, and lightning can damage the electronics on Atlas V and on essentially any rocket that flies through it. So that is why there is that anvil cloud rule in effect, and that's also the concern that we were talking about earlier when we talked about tribo-electrification. That's flying through a cloud that creates lightning that strikes the vehicle. That's exactly the concern right now. They did say they expect it to clear in about 15 minutes from now, because it's just within a distance of how far away those clouds can be from the launch pad. I mean, Max, we've seen clouds pop in, and depending on how fast the wind is, they're either kind of hang there or they blow through very fast.
Yeah, but the thing with anvil clouds is they can extend very, very high into the sky, and we know how fast upper level winds can or cannot change or calm down. Spoiler alert, they don't. It takes a lot longer for upper level winds to change or adjust at all. But anvil clouds are worrying. Obviously, it is better to be on the ground wishing you were in the sky than on the sky in the sky wishing you're on the ground. Yeah, anvil clouds are certainly no joke to try and combat, especially even with a vehicle as mighty and robust as Atlas V is. Better safe than sorry.
There's a look at, I believe those are the solids there.
So you have the three. So the way the 551 solids are mounted on the booster, you have 3 on one side and 2 on the other. And gosh darn it, ULA, thank you for taking away that view. So what you were looking at on the left hand side was 3 solids mounted on the left side relative to that camera, 2 on the right side, and then those 2 nozzles in the middle were the 2 nozzles of the single RD-180 engine. Yes, 2 nozzles for one engine because it is run by one of turbo pumps feeding 2 sets of a set of 2 combustion chambers. So even though despite having 2 nozzles and 2 combustion chambers, one set of pumps is what qualifies it as a single engine.
Yeah, I know that's a point of contention among many people. They call them RD-180 engines. It is
right.
an engine.
So explain an LR87 then, Max.
I'd rather not in front of you.
LR87 has 2 power packs. It's called one motor. What's that about?
I don't know. I know next to nothing about the LR87. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't.
Do you even know what rocket that belongs to?
Titan of sorts, I think, right?
Hey, yeah, all right, nice.
Very nice. See, yeah, I heard LR, and I'm like, okay, that's probably a Titan 1 or Titan 2, right? But I love Titan. I do. I mean, Titan 3 and Titan 4 are my favorite rockets, but I know embarrassingly little about them.
And also worth noting, again, that's part of why that RD-180 is part of the reason why ULA escalated how fast they moved away from Atlas onto Vulcan, because the RD-180 is a Russian-designed engine that was being made in Ukraine. And if you know anything about world politics, Russia and Ukraine are not happy right now, and the US is not happy with Russia. So the whole point was to go away from these Russian-derived engines and go to American-built engines. So they used the remaining stock of the RD-180s that they had for these last Atlases and switched to the American-made BE-4 made by Blue Origin. So yeah, that was part of the reason why they switched so quickly over to Vulcan and away from the RD-180s and instead to the BE-4s. But man, I still, the RD-180s, if you've never heard them, hopefully you can hear it with the sound on this one. There is a deep, visceral roar at ignition. It's hard to explain. I've not heard any other American engine do that noise, but it really just makes a roar at liftoff.
It reminds me of the way Titan II used to light its first stage engines with those ignition canisters that fire up, and it screeches until the engines ignite. Atlas V isn't quite the same, although it uses TTEB or triethyl aluminum or triethyl borine to ignite both of its combustion chambers, and it makes this ridiculously bass. It's a very bassy. I was going to try and make the sound, but I'm not going to on air. It's this incredible two-stage, just aggressive thumping, pounding sound before the engine ignites, and then come the solids. It's really unique, and especially if the wind is blowing in the right direction, which actually based off of the venting coming from the core booster right now, our microphone should pick it up if they are sensitive enough.
It's kind of like woof, almost.
It's like whoom, bum. It's like that, basically.
Make that noise again?
Please coordinate
I'm good.
a new T0 of 235300. That's 2353 Zulu.
Roger, 2353-000. ALC, please set the clock, 2353-000.
Roger.
RCLC.
So,
Go for RC.
Please coordinate with the range, new T0, 2353-000.
Roger.
It's about 17 minutes out.
Yep, 7:53 Eastern. Worth noting that after that point, if they need to push into it beyond 7:53, they have about 9.5 minutes left in the window after that.
Set with new T0 of 23:53 Zulu.
Roger.
And of course, this is all going to come down to, has the anvil cloud moved away quick enough? And is the launch weather going to be acceptable? It's Brian Belson is the person who we can either celebrate or blame, depending on how it goes. He is the launch weather officer for this particular flight.
He's just reporting on what the clouds are doing.
Well, to quote the official ULA live update blog, quote, "The weather is always the wild card in any rocket launch attempt at Cape Canaveral with the fickle Florida weather conditions," close quote.
Unless you're New Glenn with BE4s. Sorry, anyway. Too soon, I know.
Wow.
I know, too soon, too soon, too soon.
Hasn't even been 24 hours yet, and he's already... Stop, he's already dead.
No!
Oh, man. But yeah, we'll have to see. So yeah, the launch director, as we mentioned, 7:53 Eastern, 23:53 UTC. So about 15 minutes to go. And we don't know yet if that weather will indeed clear. This is just the next time that they are going to target. And based off of what we heard in that initial go, no, go poll, it sounded like it was about 15 minutes that they would be able to potentially find a gap to try and send this through.
Now, Sawyer, if they, so they're, we're about 15 minutes out, and that leaves about a 9-minute buffer in the window, give or take, if I'm looking at this right.
Correct.
They will, so this is the final attempt for the day. If it doesn't go here, they won't have time to recycle before the window closes, correct?
Oh, no, they will.
They will.
I would think so. They do the readiness poll at T-minus 7 minutes. So they could technically push it till 7 minutes before when they would do the poll.
I would like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's ULA. So
yeah.
We'll see. They tend to err on the side of caution. Whereas we've seen SpaceX launch Falcon 9 from Florida in the rain.
Can they launch in the rain? Can they static fire in the rain?
Yeah, I'm not even making that joke with Atlas. No. Yeah, Atlas has a perfect flight record with ULA. Don't
yeah, probably.
jinx it.
Yeah, probably.
No, folks, no. This is Slick 41, not 36.
That's LC-36. Thank you.
No, sorry, it's Space Launch Complex 36. No, I'm sorry. Never mind. Disregard. That was wrong. I thought
It is LC-36
I
and
had-
Slick 41.
53:00 Zulu has been coordinated and approved on the range.
Roger. All right, team, we have an approved T0. L count is about to hit L minus 13 minutes. We'll re-perform the status check at L minus 7 minutes.
Let's go.
I had 41
There
on
we
mine.
go.
That's why I said Space Launch Complex. Forgive me.
Yep, and that's
Oopsie.
launch conductor Scott Barney that we're hearing making all these coordinations. Yeah, 13 minutes to go now. Again. Just looking through chat as we continue to wait for this launch of more Amazon LEO internet satellites. The penultimate Atlas V 551, and the penultimate Amazon LEO launch on Atlas.
That's sad. I don't like it when you say it like that, Sawyer. I don't like the word penultimate in there. Oh, man.
And technically, this is the penultimate payload for Atlas. It's going to be these LEO satellites, because the only payload after that it's scheduled to launch is Starliner.
Which is a payload.
What about if Starliner launches uncrewed?
Ooh, it's going to have cargo. May have cargo on it.
Is it? Well, you call cargo payload.
The only
slide
thing
dog,
Sorry.
of the things that will be attached to the top of Atlas, the only two remaining payloads are LEO satellites and a Boeing Starliner capsule.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Easy way to get Sawyer tilted on stream is just to do what EJ just did.
I've known EJ for a long time. He knows how to press every one of my buttons.
Yeah, chat. Don't tell him that. That's what I was doing. All right. What? Hey, sir.
Oh, hi, EJ.
Anyway, for those wondering, when we talk about the Atlas 551 again, if you're kind of just joining in as we approach 11 minutes and 11 seconds to go till this new T0, this is the 551. So that is a 5-meter fairing on top. That is 5 solid rocket boosters on the side. Those are the GEM 63s. And then the single RL-10 engine on the Centaur upper stage. Which probably worth clarifying, EJ, because I know there's the whole thing with Vulcan but those uses GEM 63s, but those are GEM 63 XLs.
Yeah.
There is a difference.
Yeah, there is a difference. The XL is longer, and it's got a little more spiciness to it. They make more thrust. I do believe the GM 63 XLs are 2,400 kilonewtons a pop. I'll have to go look it up. Sorry, give me 1 second.
They also have
No
a
problem.
nozzle problem, but anyway.
But yeah, one
it's
thing we have seen
probably
Go ahead.
because they make more thrust. I mean, I don't know. Just putting it out there. What do I know? I'm not Joe Barnard. You know what I mean?
But one of the things that we do see with these last couple of Atlas launches is that these still get sparky. The nozzle does remain on, but it will look quite sparky, like there are pieces of slag or something flying behind it, or like it's trying to break through the engine nozzle. It is not. We've learned, especially the last few launches, that it is going to be extra sparky. Noticed that in person at the last Atlas launch as well.
I mean, Sawyer, part of that is that because the graphite epoxy motors, and keep in mind, graphite epoxy motor refers to the casing, not the propellant. The graphite epoxy motors have hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene and ammonium perchlorate. That's kind of like I don't know what the right way to say it. It's a little bit more spicy, solid rocket fuel. Like, I mean, Sawyer, we're used to the space shuttles, 4 segments, right, which are using P-band, which is a slightly less spicy. It's less Scoville. You know what
More
I mean?
tame.
We'll say that it's a little bit more tame. So actually, I was going to say byproducts. It actually is a combustion byproduct of using HTPB and ammonium perchlorate. You do get some. They shoot out sparks. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, not all the exhaust products from SRBs are gas and fire. It does shoot out some more solid particulates out there as well, either unburned fuel or what have you.
You just don't want it to shoot out a nozzle, Max. Right?
Correct. Yes. Or large amounts of unburned propellant, because at that point, that's also hitting your nozzle and putting stress on other components that it may come in contact with. But yes, that's one of the things that you risk when running a solid rocket motor is that there's no way to test it before you fire it. Because if you fire it, you cannot turn it off. You can't refill it. At least in terms of the Gem 63 XL, once they're lit, you can't turn them off until they're burned out and they're not reusable. So the only way to know how they really perform is in flight. But thankfully, they've had really good results with the Gem 63s on the Atlas V, because of course that is what's used on Vulcan.
Exactly. And we're now about 45 seconds away from them reconducting that go no go poll to see if they are ready to enter the terminal count. The terminal count happens at T-minus 4 minutes and counting. We'll see if we get to that point. The last update that we saw was that they are continuing to wait on weather to go green. In other words, be acceptable. The concern they had was a cumulus cloud that was coming into the area too close to the launch pad, which again, if the rocket flies through it, could cause issues with lightning. So in the next couple seconds here, we should once again be hearing them conduct the go, no-go poll. And let's hope we get a go this time. Let's listen in to ULA.
Minutes. Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems, propulsion.
Go.
Hydraulics.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
Water.
Go.
Centaur systems, propulsion.
Go.
Pneumatic.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
LO2. LH.
Go.
ASCAP.
Go.
Electrical systems, airborne.
Go.
Ground.
Go.
Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
GCQ.
Go.
Ops support.
Go.
Com.
Go.
Umbilicals. Umbilicals.
Go.
Environmental control system.
Go.
Red line monitor.
Go.
Quality.
Go.
Ops safety manager.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
Go.
Anomaly chief.
Go.
Range and weather.
Go.
Launch director.
Yes.
You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count. ALC verified T0 is set for 23:53.
Polling is complete and the team is go for launch. From now until
Here we
liftoff,
go.
ULA's launch conductor will lead the team through the final steps in today's countdown.
And that's what we wanted to hear. We have the go for weather this time. ULA kind of leaked it early on their live launch blog before we heard the actual count. So they're continuing to target 7:53 p.m. Eastern Time and 0 seconds. So about 5 minutes or so from now. Once we get below the 4-minute mark, that is when the terminal count will begin. At that point, if there is anything that comes up that is a question mark or that is an issue, that is when they would have to call off the launch. Of course, we hope that we don't get to that point and that all continues to proceed once we get into that terminal count part. I mean, this EJ is the exciting part here. And the real big milestones start happening under that 4-minute mark.
Yep.
4.5 minutes to go.
Yep. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was waiting for you to jump in, but yeah, there we go. Should be coming up on that terminal count. That is also when the L- clock and the T- clock will synchronize. So the L- is continually counting down till the time of launch. The T- had built-in holds, and we should be clearing that built-in hold in just a couple of seconds here.
1. Mark. 4 minutes and counting.
There we go. L and T- 4 minutes and counting. So we are now in the terminal part of the count. A lot of the things that will happen from this point on are automated and controlled by systems over at Slick 41, as well as aboard the rocket itself, as well as the Amazon LEO satellites on board as well. So at this point, 3.5 minutes to go. A reminder, this is carrying some of the Amazon LEO internet satellites into orbit today. This is the 7th Amazon Kuiper / Leo, depending on how you call it, launch on Atlas V, with one more remaining. Should be getting out of top-off mode, which they've kind of just been replenishing all of the tanks at this point, as they waited for that go. That should stop shortly, and then we'll also start getting all of the onboard systems ready. So right now the first stage liquid oxygen replenishment is being secured so that the tank can now be pressurized for launch, and all of the ground pyrotechnics have been armed. That's the stuff that will actually let go of Atlas once it hits 0. 2 minutes, 40 seconds to go. So far, everything appearing to continue as planned in the countdown. Of course, once we get closer to launch, we will let you listen in to the sounds of Atlas. It is going to take a bit for the sound to reach us because of the distance of where our microphones are from Slick 41. And as we talked about earlier, keep an ear out for that super deep, roaring, growling sound from that RD-180 engine right as it ignites. It is a very cool and very distinctive sound to listen to. 2 minutes to go. The start command has now been issued for the launch sequencer. That's what does all the independent verifications of systems for the rest of the countdown, deals with all the detachment of umbilicals from the vehicle and all of that. The first stage RP1 and the liquid oxygen tanks have also gone to their flight levels, so no longer topping off. They are pressurized to flight levels. The liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen topping on Centaur should also be secured momentarily, and those tanks would be hopefully confirmed stable at their flight pressures. 80 seconds to go. So far, everything proceeding smoothly as we approach 80 seconds to go. The ordnance controller and the vehicle safety system have been armed. The flight software on Atlas V is now active.
1 minute.
1 minute to go.
They should be popping in for a status check here in a second, Sawyer.
The firing chain should also be armed, by the way. So SRB is ready for ignition. Eastern range at the Cape is indeed go for launch. The final status check will happen at about 25 seconds. So in just a couple seconds, we will hopefully hear them say go for everything.
28. Verify ECS roost for launch.
Verified.
25. Status check.
Go Atlas. Go Centaur.
Go Leo.
15 seconds. At about 3 seconds is when that RD-180 will ignite.
8, 7, 6.
Sound suppressors should turn on now.
4, 3, 2. We have ignition. 1. And liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, carrying another 29 satellites for Amazon Leo. These spacecraft will deliver fast, reliable internet to customers around the world.
60 miles per hour. Booster to closed loop control. RD-180 throttling down per flight program. Vehicle parameters look nominal. Pitch over maneuver complete. Roll program complete. Mach 1. Atlas V is now supersonic. Vehicle is traveling down the center of the range track and is 2 miles downrange.
You are hearing the voice of ULA Sarah Kelly providing launch vehicle ascent data.
Max Q. The vehicle just experienced the maximum dynamic pressure predicted for today's flight.
In about 15 seconds, the first stage engine will throttle down to prepare for separation of the solid rocket boosters.
Trackers D and Jerry out there losing it a little bit as it goes through the clouds here at Cape Canaveral. This is the onboard view from Atlas. Atlas already more than 9 miles in altitude. Velocity over 1,800 miles per hour. 90 seconds into flight. Should have SRB burnout. And then jettison will occur once the aerodynamic conditions are ready a few seconds later. There's the first ones, and there's the next ones. That looks like clean SRB SEP. Gem 63s doing their job. Those, by the way, consumed about 500,000 pounds or 227,000 kilograms of propellant during that portion of flight. Vehicle already more than 3,000 miles an hour. Atlas is switching to closed loop guidance as it continues to point towards its precise trajectory. The onboard computer is doing all of that calculating and navigating. Atlas 50 miles in altitude, 65 miles downrange, traveling more than 5,000 miles per hour. They're actively receiving data from Cape Canaveral and South Florida. Turns out, EJ, that one of their sites as they go further northeast is located in New England as a tracking antenna.
Oh, yeah? Where's that at?
According to ULA, in New England, quote unquote.
Yeah, okay. It's like, oh yeah, we have a place in Texas where it's big. No, it's just in Texas.
Atlas V now outside of Earth's atmosphere, crossing the Kármán line. This isn't a blue stream, but it crossed the Kármán line. Now more than 6,000 miles per hour. Rocket weighs just a quarter of what it did at liftoff.
And then we saw the fairing jettison and the Centaur forward load reactor separation too.
Yep, now more than 115 miles downrange from where it took off, more than 7,000 miles per hour in speed. This is looking good so far. And it is planned that the main booster there should continue until about 4 minutes and 22 seconds into flight. That is when we should see BECO, followed by booster Centaur separation, and then MES1, Centaur main engine start 1. All continuing to burn well. Atlas now throttling to maintain constant acceleration as it nears the conclusion of that first stage.
Boost phase chill down complete.
Standing by for BECO.
BECO, RD-180 burn has concluded. Booster separation confirmed.
Oh.
Centaur fuel and liquid oxygen pre-start.
Pre-start on the Centaur here. There it is.
RL-10 ignition and ramp to full thrust.
Something came off.
Performance is nominal.
This is Atlas, Michigan.
That's what we want to hear. Everything is nominal. This is a nearly 14-minute long burn to get to the Amazon LEO satellites into their planned deployment orbit here. And unlike Falcon 9, there's not a camera that's going to be tracking the booster on the way down. It is not reused. In fact, no portion of this vehicle is reused. Also, it is now within the communications range of the new Boston Space Force Station.
Oh, I know what they're using. On Cape Cod, there is Otis Air Force Base. So there is a Space Force contingent there. They operate I believe it's called a PAVE-PAWS antenna. So it's an antenna that was designed for nuclear missile detection, but now the Space Force uses it for situational awareness and debris management. They're probably doing it out of there.
And launch tracking, too.
Yep. That's, it's not far from me, dude.
I smell a live stream on Twitch. 6 minutes into flight.
Either that or they said you said New Boston. I don't know if that's a new tracking center in Boston or if they're using New Boston. If they're using New Boston, that's up in New Hampshire. So
it's,
I don't know.
Well, it's part of BOSS. I'm just reading what ULA provides us. I can't give you more details than that.
Yeah. Interesting.
So far, everything looking good. Again, they don't have the live camera currently active, but you can still see the live telemetry in the bottom right. Now almost 700 miles downrange, and apparently it is smack dab in the middle of the track. Now more than 200 miles in altitude at this point. Should be visible right now in New York City if you have clear skies over there. And this RL-10C continuing to operate as expected. The final orbit for this is expected to be an approximately 280 mile or 450 kilometers near circular orbit, inclined 51.9 degrees. 7 minutes, 20 seconds into flight. You can see there the apogee and perigee. Perigee still in the negative. Perigee is the lowest point. Apogee is the highest point in its current trajectory. Once that perigee is in the positives, that means it is much closer to actually getting into orbit. Look at first stage performance numbers, shows a good burn by the Atlas. Now 250 miles in altitude, passing east of Cape Cod and Boston.
I'm just saying that Cape Cod would be closer.
RCS duty
right?
cycling as expected.
So we want to hear everything as expected, 8 minutes into flight.
Yeah, I did a little bit of digging here. Yeah, it's New Boston. That's New Boston, New Hampshire.
Traveling at 12,440 miles
Great name.
per hour.
12,400 miles per hour. I'm sorry, I don't have the kilometers per hour translations for it. But this burn is expected to continue until about 18 minutes and 20 seconds into flight.
Data quality continues to be nominal.
Now passing Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada. Telemetry indicating good performance still so far. That's what we like to see. And again, we may not have the live views, but this is indeed using live telemetry data beamed back from the second stage of Atlas, in this case, the Centaur upper stage.
RCS line temperatures have converged to bottle temperatures as expected.
So Sawyer, ULA actually shows us some. This is obviously telemetry-driven animation, but we do have some telemetry numbers in the bottom right corner. If you guys look, we have apogee and perigee. Apogee and perigee are two metrics for discerning an orbit in orbital mechanics. It refers to the highest and lowest points in your orbit. And if you look right now, the perigee is very, very, very negative. It's minus 3,700 kilometers in change, which means that Centaur, with its satellites right now, is still suborbital.
Down the center of the range track and is 1,430 miles downrange.
When that perigee number goes positive, that's when we will reach orbit here. Below that, you have inclination. It says 51.692 and increasing, meaning that the stage is actually flying a little. It's changing its inclination, so it's Centaur's working a little bit out of plane here, changing that inclination during ascent. The inclination is the angle of the spacecraft's orbital plane relative to Earth's equator. So we're in a tilted orbit here because we flew up the East Coast.
Continues to drive toward an optimal mixture ratio.
And because we went up the East Coast, we went northeast out of the Cape. If you drew a track of the Centaur's orbit over, like on a 2D map, the point at which it crossed the equator would make a 51.7 and increasing degree angle. So it's the tilt of the orbital plane relative to the celestial body's equator here. So ULA actually does give us that information, which is very cool to see.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love being able to see the live data and get these updates, which is the latest one. Now traveling more than 13,000 miles per hour above the North Atlantic. Less than 8 minutes remained in this burn. I'm seeing people in chat say that they were able to see it in Virginia. If anyone else did see it,
over 13,500 miles per hour and is 370 miles from Earth.
if If anyone did see it, definitely let us know in chat. And if you caught any pictures or videos of it, tag us on the NSF socials. We're on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky. I want to see it. I love seeing people catch it, especially from so far away as, you know, the northeastern seaboard here. T plus 11, almost 12 minutes now. More than 300 miles in altitude, continuing to operate as expected, the RL-10 upper stage engine.
After MECO 1, there will be a 3-minute coast period before starting today's spacecraft separation sequence. We are carrying 29 satellites that will join Amazon's LEO constellation. There will be 10 deploy events, 3 events per tier, 3 satellites each, and a final 2 satellite separation from the cake topper. Each deployment event is spaced 1 to 3 minutes apart. Each separation will be initiated with an ARM command, followed by a deploy command from the ULA flight computer. After the deployments occur, there will be a roll maneuver if required to the next SV separation attitude, and a settling event to maximize the relative distance between spacecraft. After which, Amazon will maneuver their assets to their operational orbits.
Now, we got to put money on, will the person that called out the deployment accidentally call one of them Kuiper again, as they did on Leo 6?
All vehicle parameters continue to be nominal.
What do you think? Do you think that ULA will accidentally call it that?
I sure hope not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
They did it twice during Leo 6.
We'll see.
I don't know.
Chris, make the poll. Let's go.
But yeah, as you heard there, everything looking good. Rates continuing to be nominal. Or I guess if you want to go John Innsbrucker, nominal. 13 minutes, 45 seconds
Engine operating
into flight.
parameters continue to look good.
Under 5 minutes to go now. Also trying to listen in to the telemetry updates. Also, I love that, for those who didn't hear, the deployment mechanism is called the cake topper, because you can see the different batch of satellites all kind of lined up on top of each other, and then the 2 satellites at the top that look like a cake
2,600
topper.
miles downrange, traveling over 14,900 miles per hour.
So I guess this is Wilbo's cake, technically, from earlier.
Jeez, I guess.
So far, so good. Coming up on almost 15 minutes into flight. Everything looking great from all the numbers that ULA has been providing. And again, you can see those numbers there on the bottom right of the screen.
We are now 15 minutes into today's flight. All vehicle parameters continue to be stable.
Atlas V now more than 15,000 miles per hour, 300 miles above the North Atlantic. Everything looking good. Which, reminder, this is the heaviest payload ever carried by Atlas V. After all these years of Atlas heritage,
system continues to operate as expected.
These Amazon Leo batches with 29 of them are the heaviest things Atlas has ever launched. Dee, I think we have you back as well. How was that one tonight?
You know, that was a pretty good one right off the pad. We didn't have it for too long, but even with that very, very heavy payload, Atlas
Vehicle
just
is
leaps off.
3,100 miles downrange, traveling over 15,800 miles per hour.
Atlas just leaps off the pad, and you know it made its way into a cloud layer,
2
so we
minutes
lost
to
it
MECO.
before. We lost it before too long, but it was still a wonderful launch in the
RCS duty
evening
cycling
light.
as expected.
Still looked like you had a good track of it for about a minute. That's longer than I expected, to be honest.
Me too. I did not think we would have it for quite that long, But even once it first went into the cloud, it was somewhat visible through it for a bit, and then it started to sort of fade away into the mist.
Yeah, it helps having those 5 SRBs that are super bright.
Absolutely.
Should be about 90 seconds or so left in powered flight. So, everything looking good. As you can see there, up next, MECO 1, main engine cutoff 1. You also notice there
1
the
minute to
perigee
MECO.
getting close to the positives. And when all is done, it should be a near circular orbit. Not exactly, but near circular.
Vehicle is
Inclined
3,600
51.9
miles
degrees.
downrange, traveling over 16,600 miles per hour.
So keep an eye on that perigee in the bottom right corner. Once it goes positive, we'll have an orbital trajectory.
All vehicle operating parameters continue to be nominal. 30 seconds to MECO.
MECO again, that main engine cutoff of the RL-10 upper stage engine on Centaur.
This is Atlas Mission Control at L plus 17 minutes. We're coming up on the end of the first of 2 Centaur upper stage burns.
That second burn, by the way, is once it does its deploy, it's to get it out of the way.
Open loop control. MECO, this concludes the first burn of the Centaur upper stage. Settling.
We've just heard.
And there we go. Looks like we had cutoff. And EJ, I don't know about you, but those numbers look pretty darn near circular, almost 51.9 degrees inclined.
So we have 442.71 by 445, 31, 51.85 degrees inclination. Yeah, and you can see that Centaur has boost motors to keep the propellants settled. And those little jets on the side there, that's actually pushing the apogee up. They're using that to keep the props settled. But yeah, you can see even that's perturbing it. But yeah, that looks like a good nominal orbit insertion there.
Yep, and now Centaur is starting to turn itself towards the orientation for deployment. And as we will stay live through this deployment, and as we get gaps in between each of these deploys, we'll be able to look at some of our launch replays. So stick around. We have all of our team's replays and tracking. And we still have 29 Amazon LEO satellites that need deployment. This is from Fleet Cam. So this is over at Port Canaveral, over at Rusty's. Great place to grab a bite to eat too. And that plume that happens from the SRBs, it is not a clean looking burn, but it very much makes it obvious to see in the sky.
I'm genuinely surprised how much long you actually saw it in the sky before it jumped into the clouds. It was way longer than I was expecting.
It was really hard to tell how high up the cloud layer was. It did not seem like it felt much lower than, I mean, evidently by how long it took, than it really was.
And this view from one of our robotic cameras at the Launch Complex 39 press site here. Should be about 30 seconds away from the first deployment, by the way, of those first 3 Amazon LEO satellites.
You can just see Jerry in the bottom left of this view in front of the countdown clock.
Hi, Jerry.
Oh, he just stared at me through the glass door here.
Nice.
All right, here comes deployment number 1. There we go. First 3 satellites deployed. Now it's about a 2-minute coast as they get ready for the next one. Make sure that Centaur and all of the cake topper is oriented in the correct direction for the next ones to deploy. I love that you can just still see that that plume there. Talk about how fast Atlas goes. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, TWR is the name of the game for first stages, Sawyer. That's what you really want. You need higher thrust to weight ratio. Actually, would get you better efficiency here, and combine that with the low thrust, high specific impulse of a Centaur 3. You really got a winning combination here.
No. Here we go. And again, that little fire down there is expected because they still have things that they burn off with the hydrogen and the oxygen that's used for the upper stage. Oof. Love that speed. Yeah, there should be 9 more deployments left, by the way, for those satellites.
So a lot of people are asking, if you're going faster with your first stage, yeah, you encounter less of a gravity loss. Basically, guys, if you want to just do a little high-level overview here, the first stage is really designed to get you up there. The second stage is designed to go fast. First stage, the quicker it can get you up into space,
Arm
so
command
the second
sent.
stage can do its...
And here comes the next
Deploy
deployment.
command sent.
There we go.
Confirmation
There
of
it
3
is.
more LEO satellites successfully separated. Next event is in just
Nice.
over 2 minutes.
Okay,
There we go.
so I got 2 minutes, Sawyer. So that first stage is really designed to get you up there and
RCS
going.
on for settling.
Yep, see, there we go. Tank settling.
Begin roll maneuver in preparation of next separation event.
That's pretty self-explanatory. So if now it's not without a trade-off, right? You can't just go as fast as humanly possible with your first stage because, well, there's an atmosphere in the way. So it's always a trade-off. You have to find the balance between your first stage getting you up there as quickly as possible, but also not getting to the point where the dynamic pressure build up on the vehicle
battery voltages remain stable.
is causing so much drag that you're basically pushing against a brick wall.
Now on the next set of deployments here, there'll be another 3 satellites. All of the deployments are 3 except for the final one, and that
Vehicle
final one is the
6,300
2
miles
at the top.
downrange, still coasting just over 17,000 miles per hour.
"25 minutes since launch. Everything looking good."
Next step
And again,
event
they were
in 30
talking about...
seconds.
Yeah, about 30 seconds. EJ, we were talking about the kind of settling. You see those thrusters out the back. What are those?
So they're small thrusters. The last time I checked, they're monopropellant thrusters, Sawyer. So each thruster has a little catalyst in the end. And what they do is they take Aerozine 50, which is a form of hydrazine
Deploy
that's
command
pressurized. Hold on.
Confirmation of
There we
3
go.
more LEO satellites successfully separated. Next event is in 2
There,
minutes.
there's the bottom ring.
Yep. So if you look at the back of the Centaur, you see there's some tanks hanging off of it. One of them is an Aerozine 50 tank. Aerozine 50 is a form of hydrazine. And what happens is so they have a pressurized system back there, and there's pressurized manifolds, and there's thrusters that are pointed in all different directions, like the ones that are shooting out backwards for settling, right? This Aerozine 50 system, hey, I'm back. What's up? This Aerozine 50 system shoots, or this pressurized system shoots Aerozine 50 through the nozzles where those little thrusters are. And there's a catalyst in there. And when the Aerozine hits the catalyst, it creates heat, and that creates thrust. So those little monopropellant jets, they're not the most efficient things around, but they are very, very reliable.
Coming up next on the 4th of 10 deployments here. As mentioned, it's 3 at a time. And then following that, the final one, number 10, will be the 2 satellites at the top of the cake topper there. So hopefully we'll get that call out soon. Again, the command is armed and then deploy. Obviously arming the deployment mechanism and then the deploy itself. You may also notice from the animation it's spinning a bit prior to the separation. That is basically lining itself up into the correct orientation that they want it for the satellites to jettison. And I guess it's also worth noting that this is very different from how Starlinks do it, whereas I think it's still, they have a tension rod. Here comes the next one shortly.
Confirmation of 3 more LEO satellites successfully separated. Next event is in just under 2 minutes.
Beautiful. Whereas these are the individual deployments.
Begin roll maneuver in preparation of next separation event.
There's that roll like we were talking about. It's basically a tension rod that kind of lets them go, right? I don't know which of you wants to take that. Yeah, go ahead, AJ.
So, Sawyer, the Starlink satellites are kind of stacked on top of Falcon 9's second stage like a deck of cards, and the 2 tensioning rods just kind of hold them in place. And then they let the tension rod go, and it's just basically like throwing a deck of cards. This does not use something like that. We have payload attachment rings. So you see the gray rings that are attached to the top of Centaur over there. I'm pointing at it, but the camera's too small. Whatever. I'm used to being on my stream. Those gray rings that are over there are holding rows of satellites. So you have 3 rows, and then you have the 2 satellites at the top that, as you said, Blue calls it, or Amazon calls it the cake topper, right?
Miles downrange.
This is a little bit of a different design. This has individual separators on it, and they deploy them in sequence, whereas all the Starlink satellites are deployed all at once. They just let them go like a deck of cards. In fact, that's one of the things that, I know that people are going to say, well, aren't they going to hit each other? Yes. That was intended with Starlink satellites. Starlink satellites are designed to come into contact with other Starlink satellites, at least initially from the deployment, and not have it be that big of a deal. If it quite actually any other satellite touches another satellite during deployment, like when you're doing it this way, this is a more conventional way of doing it, yeah, you're going to have an issue. But Starlinks are designed to do that. They're designed to hit each other. And they do sometimes.
And these don't, because there's the next deployment.
There you go.
3 more LEO satellites
See?
successfully separated.
Just trying to time it, dude.
Next event is in just under 2 minutes.
I should go back into prop settling here. Go ahead.
No, as you heard, just under 2 minutes till the next one.
And there's the settling.
Begin roll maneuver in preparation of next separation event.
Almost like they have this down to a science or something, you know? Done this a couple times, huh?
Yep.
So far, everything looking good. Coming up now on about 30 minutes since launch. Boy, that 30 minutes flew really fast. And so does Atlas. Now traveling over 17,500 miles an hour.
I knew you were going to do it, man. I knew it.
It wasn't a plan until the words came out of my mouth. And I'm like, you know what?
Remain stable.
There we go. Fuel tank pressures still stable. Just a few more of these deploys left. We are now more than halfway there.
And I'd like to add, while we were talking about Starlink, even the newer versions of Starlink, so the Starlink V3 that we might even see with Starship in the future, those ones, I don't know if you guys have watched our coverage of Flight 12. Those things bonked around inside of the payload. Some of them hit the on previous Starlink Starship Starlink missions, like on these test flights when they deploy the dumb links, they've like bonked the side of Starship. Not a big deal. Even though they're duds, the real ones also will not be a big deal.
Although it seems like in the V3 deploy, it was a lot smoother this time. We didn't really see any of the... Here's the next deployment.
Deploy command sent. Confirmation of 3 more LEO satellites successfully separated. Next event
6 down, 4 to go.
Over 1.5 minutes.
little bit shorter on this one, 1.5 minutes now. And that completes the second tier of the cake of deployments here.
For settling.
So it'll be 3 more batches of 3 on that third upper ring, and then the last one is the 2 on top. Now what's really cool is apparently this was visible not only across the eastern seaboard of the US, but then as it continued over the UK. I'm being told we have an image that was shot from the UK by Ryan Caton here. There you go. That is Centaur streaking across, and we believe
miles downrange, still coasting just over 17,000 miles per hour.
And we believe those bright lights there is one of the deployments of those 3 Amazon LEO satellites. But yeah, apparently it wasn't just visible in the US, it was also visible in the UK. Amazing capture, Ryan. That is so cool. Again, if anyone else saw it, send it to us on the socials. I want to see it. Wow, that was amazing.
Arm command sent.
Here's the next deployment.
Deploy command sent. Confirmation of 3 more LEO satellites successfully separated. Next event is in 90 seconds.
She's been a lot better this time about making sure that they all say Leo, not Kuiper. So far, so good.
RCS on for settling.
And this will sound familiar.
Begin roll maneuver in preparation of next separation event.
There we go. And now about a minute or so to go till the next batch of 3. This is when things really start to speed up a bit, as it gets towards the end of the deployment mechanisms here and the deployment sequence that they use. And a reminder, these Amazon LEO satellites do have thrusters on them, and they will place themselves into their final orbit. This is their initial parking orbit, so to speak, where they'll turn them on, do all the checkouts, test all the thrusters, and then actually send them into their operational
30
orbits.
seconds to the next event.
This should be deployment number 8. "29 satellites, 10 deployments."
Arm command sent.
And
Deploy command sent.
there we go.
Confirmation of 3 more LEO satellites successfully separated. Next event is in just under 90 seconds.
Under 90 seconds to go. I believe that is 5 remaining, so 24 deployed, 5 remaining. So far, everything looking good.
RCS
Just got to get those last 2 deployments.
Begin roll maneuver in preparation of next separation event.
And about under 60 seconds till that next one. Amazing just how far downrange this has traveled in that time.
"30 seconds to the next event.
Need some of our GeoGuessr fans in chat to help us with that. Coming up next on the penultimate deployment.
Deploy command sent.
There we go.
Confirmation of 3 more LEO satellites successfully separated. Next event is in just over 90 seconds.
And this is the final deployment event. After that, we should see this cake topper, which only has 2 instead of 3 satellites on it, deploy. And then that will complete the deployment phase of the mission. Following that, there is still another burn. I don't think we'll be, we'll still get a video through that, but that happens about 54 minutes and 52 seconds into flight. That's main engine start 2, And then MECO 2, 55 minutes and 2 seconds.
This is Atlas Mission Control at L plus 36 minutes and 30 seconds. We're coming up on the final LEO deployment in today's mission.
Final deployment. We'll be coming up on that very shortly now. Final 2.
Okay. I get my bearings a little bit more. That's not the Caspian. That's the Caspian Sea, not the Black Sea. And we're going out over the Indian Ocean right now.
30 seconds till our 10th and final separation event.
30 more seconds. Sitting by for that final deployment.
Arm command sent. Deploy command sent. Confirmation of the final 2 LEO satellites successfully separated.
I would call that a mission success. All 29 Amazon LEO satellites deployed, and the commentator this time calling all of them LEO. A fantastic job by ULA, continuing their tradition of basically delivering payloads as planned. As of this point, there is no full failure of a mission that we have seen of a ULA vehicle. Still pretty amazing.
Yeah, great mission. Atlas 5 making it look easy. And ULA 2.
Always does. Usually Atlas is a pretty good workhorse. So she always gets it done.
It's a Lockheed design, man.
Mm-hmm.
As we've seen recently, you know, Lockheed's pretty good at making spaceships and spaceships and spaceship accessories, boy. Pretty good at it.
Lockheed's pretty good at making stuff, just in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is a fair point. Oh, man. Well, let me also go thank some people. So we had a lot of support come through during all of this. Haven't been able to get to because, oh, yeah, there was also a launch in there, too. Mary Gann, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. Todd Seymour also becoming a PadRat member. Brian Green saying, loving all the conversation in the NSF community. Keep it up and don't forget to like. Thanks for being the best friends online chat. And thanks to the entire NSF team, best cams, DUIs. Go NSF. Sorry,
you.
Jerry. D getting called out by name.
Yeah, no, that greatly appreciated.
And then, of course, Max being an abandoner, not getting credit for shooting this launch.
I mean, that is true. That is a factual statement. I did not shoot this launch. So.
Yeah, how dare you not actually be there for every single launch ever? For shame. You're not allowed to actually take vacations or anything.
We don't need to go into what I've missed over the past. Yeah.
What do you mean? Nothing happened that you missed on the Space Coast in the last 24 hours?
No, nothing in the last 24 hours or so. No.
Imagine missing
Brian
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Brian Green saying, wait till Starships are launched as often as Falcons are now. Yeah, I'm ready for that. Also,
It's
apparently...
It's like I was saying before. Real quick, sorry. It's like I was saying before. That I remember when that message came through. When if Starship gets to a point where it's launching hourly, yeah, like everything else is just kind of like, why are we using this? You know what I mean? But anyway, continue.
Brian Green saying, I'm sorry, but I feel like I must explain. I'm not the astrophysicist. I'm a truck driver, unfortunately. Sorry to disappoint.
What kind of truck? This is important.
And wasn't that Brian Cox, not Brian Green? Am I confuzzled?
There's Brian Johnson, mate.
Especially with especially with everything going on today, our brains are a bit frazzled too. Eric, thank you for upgrading to Red Team member. Brian Green, the non-astrophysicist, gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you very much for that. Also, Brian Green coming in Man, we didn't really talk that much about SpaceX, but holy cow, that is a lot of heart emojis. Let's see, how does this show up on... Okay. Those are all green, blue, purple, with a random pink one in there. Or as you can see on the ticker there, black and white. Drunar, imagine sitting there for the whole go, no-go poll, listening to everyone get excited, knowing that you're going to poll no-go.
Wow. Yeah, if you're at the end of the count, you just know. That must be the worst feeling. Do you just like signal to the launch director, just like, nope, cut it off?
Just having to put your hand. I mean, because the LCC at ASOC is dead silent unless you're called on or you have a problem. To be that person who's like, actually, no, sorry, no go, sorry, weather. Yeah, that must suck.
And again, whoever's running the ULA blog, the live update blog at the time, gave it away ahead of time. So I was already posting in the back channel because they had posted an update. They have a live blog that they do, and it makes a ding whenever they do an update. So that's what I've been listening to, is just the dings, so I know when to read it. And it said, weather no-go for launch due to Anvil cloud roll. As they were just starting the go, no-go poll. I'm like, well, we know how this is going to end. So, yeah. Bodger saying, buttons, EJ, what do they mean?
Numbers.
Okay. When we were doing the go, no-go poll, Space Pope was go. Good to see you back, Space Pope.
Space Pope.
Football as well. Vanessa Jan saying, go LA 07. Fares on the rise, saying, we are watching the second to last part of the Cold War legacy launch vehicles. My dad was a big part of a lot of national security launches on these. That is so cool. I love when we get into the history of it.
That's deep.
Because the Atlas vehicle has heritage going back to the 60s. I mean, we were talking earlier, one of the
50s.
first explosions that was seen at LC-36 was an Atlas Centaur in 1965 or 64. So, I mean, this vehicle goes way back. Atlas has launched people.
Once,
right?
So far, but alas, it has.
And what about Atlas Centaur? That played a huge role in the human spaceflight program in the early days, too.
I mean, yeah, Sawyer, the Atlas program goes even further than the 60s, dude. The first the SM-65 Atlas program from Convair goes back to the mid-50s. How about that, huh? But yeah, the guy named Kraft Eric at Convair decided, hey, let's make a tank out of stainless steel, put it up there and put hydrogen in it, put an RL-10 engine behind it, which was originally slated as a lunar lander engine, believe it or not, before boil-off was well understood. And Atlas Centaur first flew in 1962. It launched all the Surveyor missions going to the moon.
Oh, yeah. Everybody chanted moon, moon, moon.
Moonjoy.
Moonjoy. Copy Moonjoy.
And Fair's on the Rise pointing out Dad was a Lockheed man. Nice.
Lockheed don't miss.
Rosebud, can't ULA continue to deploy the Amazon LEO satellites? I mean, they will. With Vulcan, it's planned. So it's not like... But Vulcan also has to be approved to fly again after the solid rocket motor issues they had. Because I think Amazon LEO was supposed to use a VC6, right?
Mm-hmm. Also, you know that the Mercury Atlas program existed too. So Atlas has launched more than one set of people into space.
That's what I was getting at earlier.
Yeah.
Not just Atlas V and Starliner, but also going back to those days. Anonymous saying, been meaning to grab one of these. It'll go well with my 2010 NSF shirt. Getting one of the hats. Enjoy the hat. And then Ephrethium saying, Atlas launched people 4 times. There it is. Project Mercury. That's pretty cool.
True.
Amazing.
Can I
vehicle.
chalk that one up? Can I chalk that one up to being tired? Missing that one? Can I do that? Everybody else has. I haven't done that yet.
I think we all are tired at this
I
point.
think we all can claim it.
All right.
But
Sweet.
if you're not tired of learning about what's happening in spaceflight, we have twists this week in spaceflight coming up immediately after this. So stick around for twists, publishing shortly here on NSF. And of course, it wouldn't be a launch stream without a DWise slow-mo play out. But let me thank the people on stream here. I'll go down the line. Max, thank you.
It's a pleasure as always, everyone, for today. Apologize for the impromptu studio today. Not in my normal location for this one, but considering the events of the last 24 hours, felt warranted and I wanted to come on. So thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, EJ.
Hey, thanks for having me on here. It was fun coming on here and discussing all this stuff with you. I know being on here is a privilege, so I try to bring my A game. So yeah, I do stream over on Twitch and on YouTube when I'm not here. Twitch.tv/EJ_SA. I'm over there. We're actually streaming on Twitch right now. Everything you see now is happening now. Then, well, you missed it just now.
Thank you, DWise, as well, before we go all into Spaceballs lore.
It has been an absolute pleasure. You know, we got a good launch. We had some important conversations in light of the things in spaceflight that we saw that happened this week. Happy to be here. Glad to hang out, and I'll see y'all next time.
And of course, can't do this without all of our membies, in particular, the launch directors and flight engineers, the highest levels of support that we have here at NSF. I'm amazed how many names are still on this list. That's one of those perks of the higher tiers, is getting your name at the end of the Flame Trench and all of our NSF lives. So thank you to each and every one of you, except maybe not Jack Byer. No, I'm kidding, him too. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein, along with Jay Keegan, who's been pushing the buttons and pulling the levers today. Thank you all so much for joining us for this Flame Trench, which was definitely on the fiery and spicy side. Now let's go catch up on this week in spaceflight. Have a good weekend.
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did you just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No.
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.